Zach. OG, I throw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I throw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I throw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I throw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate. Niggas don't know what to think. Thought I get money, you change. What you thought we was the same? Still stay away from them clones. Niggas better leave me alone. Talking about niggas is low. Run with niggas who don't know you. Whoa, I made that zagging when city to city. You niggas not hot in your state. If it was money to get a hit Henny, we get it and never complain. Same go for the gang, and we split it up all the same. I can't really eat, let's stay straight, cause we go way back in the day. My day ones from back in the day, they still hang around me today. You wanna come round us, you can't. I'm rolling up loud, it's great. But mama, she bad but complain, cause I'm too in love with my dreams. And I gotta get on the plane, and go get this money with Dizzy. I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang.
I get the bag with the gang, taking that Zach to the bank. Henny be all in my drink. You niggas is stupid, you think that shit change? You not even hot in your gang. Ain't nothing even hot about your gang. You niggas be lying about saying, be posting them pictures of guns for the fame. Niggas just look at me different now. Say that's your man, but he a clown. Don't fuck around with the fuck arounds. Little nigga, you should cut it out. Me and my niggas take different routes. Punch a bitch nigga all in his mouth. Hold up my nigga, we different now. I need a Robert, this is my style. I get a check today, I spent it all tomorrow. I get a bitch today, she probably a foreign model. I get a check today, I spent it all tomorrow. I'm with my gang today, tomorrow never promise.
OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang.
I think I'm cute, I know I'm sexy. I've got the look that drives the girls wild. I got the moves that really move them. I send chills up and down their spines. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I make them hot, I make them shiver. Their knees get weak whenever I'm around. They see me walk, they hear me talk. I make them feel like they're on cloud nine. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. Eat your heart out, girls. Hands off the merchandise. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy.
Welcome everybody to a very special Christmas Eve edition of Late Night Counter Apologetics. Ooh, it's getting hot as hell in here. I am your host with the most from the East Coast. And as always, good people, I come to you live from airplane mode. Oh, ladies and gents, boys and girls, people of all ages, I have got a very, very special show for you, and we are gonna get things kicked off by going ahead and let's get into it. We got so much to get to. Let's link up with the gang. Grab your folks, grab your friends. Let's have some communion. How did it get so hot in here all of a sudden? Woo! Please raise your glasses and hold on to your asses. Through him, with him, in the unity of the flying man. All glory and honor is yours who flied for our sins, because nobody fucking died for our sins. Grow up and get over it forever and ever. You may drink. And those of you that are wondering where is all of that phenomenal percussion coming from, let me introduce you to the latest addition to our compound. Man, I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. Y'all are not even ready for this. Y'all are not even ready for this. Live from 30 Myron Plaza. Please give it up for Saturday NEGRO Live. Woo! Yes, yes, give it up, give it up. Oh, look at that. I mean, look at that. Look at that. Well, look, I mean, come on, folks. Look at the set. We got AR on drums. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. You gotta come to the ranch, man. We're at the ranch. We're in our new studio. I'd like to thank AR and the rest of our construction team for this wonderful new plaza for our Saturday night shows. Yeah, we're official. Yeah, we've blown all the money. We've blown all the money. All right, it takes a lot of money to do what we do around here. All right, now let's get into our communion song. Y'all already know, Cuz came through with that new I Love You mix. It's got 2 shout outs to your boy. Also, tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow, our Christmas stream is going to be our ugly holiday sweater party. Please wear your grossest, nastiest holiday, tackiest combinations. But there's a good chance we're going to link up with OG Roddy here, have a little holiday smoke session with cuz. So pay attention, cause y'all gotta have to give him some real feedback. Y'all gotta let him know what you love about this song. Don't tell and none of y'all. If you don't love the song, then you're a disgusting person, and please don't ever watch my channel again. But come on now, this shit fire.
Whoa. Is that?
Jay, what up?
They know my campaign. Now they running up on Roddy like it's second place. They wanna know if I'm a prop or I'm the real plane. Landed in Austin and I even brought my own strain. Gang, yeah, fuck is they talking about? Link up with Freddie, got it booming cause it's Mo South. Then we hit the spot, my OG had it packed out. Getting love in every city, what it's all about. Facts, yeah, know when I'm back home. At the blueprint eating chicken with some bad Jones. And they bad, but not like the one that's at home. And she bad, but not like them kids we had, Lord, yeah. I'm still up in my mode. Hit my connect, he make the close, I run the give and go. Just ask the ones who fucking with me if you didn't know. They say the plane was always on it and he always gone. I love you, I want to. You're the one that I live for. I can't take it anymore. I love you, I need you. What can I do to make
Love
you
from Love Warrior.
You're the only one for me.
Why we
I told Jay I'ma
you
just
can
stick
keep
to
it
the
on?
code. He wished me well and told me how he been noticing growth. Told all my niggas down on Serato, let's get this dough. Figure of speech, I'm just saying my niggas gotta glow. Yeah, I thought I changed up, but in fact I just got better at the same stuff. Even when I was a minor, I was major. Independent, I remember how they played us. Yeah, you see it's funny though. See how everything changed, getting money, bro. Seen them even throwing shade when it's sunny though. On the plane, I ain't even in a lane though. Yeah, but I still be on the road. Head to toe on all my merch, I'm smoking at the shop. And they booking Henny too, I gotta bring my bro. Wonder if and when I stop, I tell them never know. I love you,
Alright, I got
I
YouTube
want you.
first.
You're the one that I live for. I can't take it anymore, but I love you, I need you. What can I do to make you see? You're the only one for me. I love you, I miss you, I need you in my life. Can't you see what you mean to me? Baby, come hold me tight. I miss you, wanna kiss you. Every time I see your face, can't you see that you're the one for me?
All right, gang, let's jump into this shit. I had YouTube Punk, Captive Desk, and Lena first, second, and third. Appreciate y'all. Glad to see everybody here. We got a lot of fun stuff to get into tonight, so let's go ahead. Yeah.
That hurts my feelings. I've
Time
been
to get
here.
in goblin mode. Oh, you know what, Wayne? You're right. It's because we talking about the YouTubers, but yeah, we got to acknowledge the crew that's in Gather. Punk is in here with me. AR is on drums. Lena's in here. Myron Bot is in here to time y'all out and boot you for curse words and sex bots and all of that. You know, we got to get a bot some love, man. The bots never sleep, man. The bots are the only people that's literally helping us, you know, 24/7, 365. You know Myron Bot's motto: bots don't sleep. So. Nah, definitely. It's been a great year, y'all. Let's enjoy the holiday season. And yeah, actually, man, everybody, let's try to have some fun, relax. You know, I'm joking about ruining Christmas. I'm really hoping to embolden those of you that, you know, need to take the next step in your atheism, wearing your atheism out loud and proud. And if that means you got to make some awkward holiday conversations, then we're here to support you. But nevertheless, I hope everybody's having a good time. If you are with your family or friends, and I hope you're having a good time with them. I hope you're catching up with everybody. If you're in that type of situation, I hope you've been able to, you know, talk about football and family pictures and memories and, you know, things that bring everybody together. But y'all know us. We gonna jump into some late night hedonism. And, you know, we've been having a little bit of these conversations lately. A lot of y'all saw my appearance recent on Mythvision, and then last night we were over with Neil on Gustick Informant. Much love to those guys for helping us get out here. But I came across this video. This is the Non-Alchemist. I always forget the name of this channel. I really like his channels. They're nice and view. He has a perspective on this that I think pretty much is aligned with where I'm at with a little bit of nuance. And I think it's really important for me because I need to find my own way to, like, you know, y'all know, live my own truth, be honest with where I'm at in life. And I really don't see science and religion as being compatible. And this time of year, even just the changes I notice on something as simple as like what's popping up on my YouTube feed, it's all about emotions and testimonies, and it's really a time where people, you guys told me grow off about the presidential address, right? The president's Christmas address, everything, you know, it's almost insufferable for me at times. Y'all know I have a lot more angst about these things probably than the average bear. Maybe that's because I'm a fresh atheist and all the wounds still hurt. They haven't all scabbed over yet. But it makes me want to kind of lash out and be like, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. Like it's okay. Like I'm okay. Science and religion don't go together. Y'all can keep trying to mix it all up if you want to, but your testimony is not moving me this year. It's not. I'm sorry, but let's get into it. I like this video. It's short, and then we're gonna talk about all the stuff that's in the title. So let's go.
Does science discredit religion? There's no doubt vehement disagreement on this question. Rabid atheists will frequently speak of modern science as destroying the foundation of any religious system, while defensive believers will fight back without considering any potential points of conflict. World without end. In this video, I'm going to take a more modest approach. I don't think science can outright discredit things as nebulous as...
Lena, that's a really good point. What's up, Gustick Informant? Thank you so much for coming through, man, and thanks again for all your help. And I hope to touch on sort of the deism thing that I was thinking about earlier today. I don't think me and Gustick Informant even got into as deeply as we wanted to, and hopefully we will. You know, that's how it is when you link up with people you have a lot in common with. You'll start talking about so much, right? So you'll be like, oh, we'll have to revisit this. But yeah, I hope to touch on that a little bit. But I'm realizing about the question of the day, I kind of asked it about religion and science, and that's normally how the question is framed. There's a lot of nuance there, to the extent that we could probably, you know, ask questions about religion without faith, or is the question better phrased as faith versus science type of deal?
What's the question of the day? I'm not on YouTube right now.
Oh, it's I think it's, are religion and science compatible?
Oh, can I say something on that super quick?
Absolutely, of course.
Thank you. I think that the term science versus religion is a gaslit term. Like it's not real at all. When people say science versus religion, what they really mean is testable claims versus feelings.
I think it's a really good point. The other thing I was thinking about earlier is that science bears the brunt of this, but it isn't really about science, right? It's incompatible with any sort of discipline where we're going to study to know how the world really works. It's incompatible with history. It's incompatible with philosophy. It's incompatible with, you know, geology, archaeology, you know, name a thing, sociology, right? Everything we've learned about what it means to be a human, how human groups work, all of this type of stuff, right? We get these real answers, and then, you know, we get these alternatives. We get this alternative sort of magic potion for, you know, why we should behave the way we behave. And I think because probably in some way the evolution creation controversy and then the history of those other scientific revolutions, it's like science that gets kind of on the front line of that. But I feel like all the academic disciplines are under attack in the same way, right? I mean, I even had the director of my program tell me that I don't know if it was one of their somebody related to like a daughter-in-law or something like that. Basically, was is dealing with a lot of harassment now as a librarian, right? Because of like the stuff that they want to keep out of high school libraries and stuff like this. So it's pretty crazy, and that's going on at the university level. So that's but it's fine. I'm kind of with it. For me, I like it. I'm almost kind of glad because I needed to science really helped me shed my religious thinking. And so I'm kind of happy to feel like they're incompatible. And we'll get into it more. And Wayne, if you got anything else to say, let me know.
Theism or religion, at least not in any kind of strong way. But I think it can certainly put pressure on the specific beliefs of the pious among us. In what follows, I'm going to primarily be summarizing the points Michael Roos makes in his contribution to this book. For starters, the more we've learned about the cosmos, the more we've come to understand our insignificant place in it.
Consider again that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child.
I don't know if this is the one I saw earlier, but hang on. This is what it made me think of. There's one. Oh, yeah, this one. Wait, why don't I have sound? Oh.
I'm an atheist.
How can you tell if someone's an atheist?
I'm an atheist.
How can you tell if someone's an atheist?
What's going on right now?
You don't have to.
You probably have to go down and back up. Sometimes it has to refresh itself.
Oh, yeah. All right, hang on. I want to see. There's one I saw earlier today. God, I'm like this show killer. There's the one I saw earlier that was like, why are atheists so arrogant? Let me see if I can find it real quick. I'll let it keep going.
Teacher and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar,
I can't
every
search, like all of a sudden I can't use YouTube.
Every saint and...
What the heck is going on here? All right, there's got to be shorts. Boom, found it. Oh, boom.
Hey, have you heard the good news about Jesus?
Yeah, but I'm an atheist. Sorry. Take care.
Man, atheists are so arrogant, thinking they know everything. They need to humble themselves and believe that the most important, most powerful, and most intelligent being in all existence created the entire universe just for us, and that he created me with care and attention, and that he loves me and listens to me intently, and that he wants to have a relationship with me and wants to live with me forever and ever throughout all of eternity.
Accurate.
Now, stop being so arrogant, atheist. Just knock it off. Quit it, you guys.
Sinner in the history of our species lived there, on the mote of dust.
That's what that made me think of.
Suspended in a sunbeam.
The appearance of cosmic insignificance may not straightforwardly falsify any major religions, but I'm not sure it truly fits well with many of them either. Second, the more we understand about the natural world, the less we need to appeal to religious beliefs to explain anything. Such beliefs may be compatible with what we see, but whether they are necessary to explain it is far from clear. And if you value Occam's razor, you should be able to see why that distinction is important. For example, we don't need to appeal to direct divine action to explain the motion of the heavenly bodies, nor to the design of a personal agent to explain biological life. We don't need to postulate that religions are true in order to give plausible accounts of their origin and persistence. You may object that religion is more than trying to explain the world around us. Okay, but it's surely not less than that. And arguably, you don't need such beliefs to explain anything. And if that's true, it at least calls into question why anyone would be dogmatic about them in the first place. The law-like regularities we detect through observation don't do anything to help those wishing us to believe fanciful claims either. And this is true whether or not God exists. Unless you claim to have seen a bona fide miracle, in your experience, every second of your life suggests that these law-like regularities hold. Also, no doubt, your experience of human testimony is that it is not always reliable in general. In addition to that, there is a case to be made that testimony about religious miracle claims is especially suspect. With that background knowledge, a scientific approach to the universe that takes these regularities seriously can easily snuff out specific religious commitments, especially when the evidence in favor of such commitments is shown to be underwhelming. It's also nothing to sneeze at that science has pretty much falsified major religious narratives, at least as a great many people have interpreted them. The world was not created in 6 days several thousand years ago, and there was no global flood. Whether this will be threatening to you depends on what kind of religious person you are, as you may want to interpret things differently. But, as Roos writes, quote, "Take note of the fact that many Christians will not have any part of this. They believe in a 6-day creation 6,000 years ago and a worldwide deluge. For them, the big questions involve logistics about how so many animals live together in such close quarters." End quote. Again, science.
And the ones who don't believe that are not being honest about the book. What those people need to accept is they don't believe they're God. They need to stop trying to convince me, right?
Right.
and really look about what's going on in America, because I'm not buying any of it.
Actually does discredit religion in many instances. More disturbingly for many Christians, it appears to undermine traditional narratives of sin and redemption. According to Paul, "Therefore, just as sin came into the world through one man, and death through sin, and so death spread to all men because all sinned. As one trespass led to condemnation for all men, so one act of righteousness leads to justification and life for all men." Here's Roos again. If Darwinian evolutionary theory be true, there was no unique first couple, Adam and Eve. Humans were never less than 10,000 in number. There was no one point at which, because of one or two people's actions, sin came into the world. Take any pair of early humans. Their parents and their children and their conspecifics were equally good and bad. So talk of us being tainted because of them is just silly. Almost as silly as suggesting that someone's death 2,000 years ago lifted the penalties of sin from us all. It is all refuted by modern science. All humans and proto-humans are and always have been a mix of good and bad.
And this is some critical stuff that is just like game changer. Like, there's always been populations. It just doesn't even make sense to talk about any life in the absence of populations. Literally, like, like, I mean, just so. I mean, the whole thing's just fundamentally off. But this is what I mean about we gotta stop beating up on fundamentalists, and by that, what I really mean is, y'all gotta stop softening up so much on everybody else. Y'all gotta take that same enthusiasm and energy you have for the young Earth creationists, and you need to give some of that ass whooping equally to the liberal, because at the end of the day, they're all fundamentalists. They all fundamentally believe in a God of the Bible that simply isn't real, and we know the biblical God is totally wholly incompatible with science. And before everybody else gets all excited about them other gods, they ain't on much better basis than a book themselves. And the whole notion of sin is ridiculous. Ridiculous. Again, and I'm going to put it to y'all a certain way that a lot of y'all are not going to be comfortable with me saying, because I'm talking about your family and I just don't care. They're flat earthers to me. If somebody believes in sin, to be honest, I kind of think they're on equal footing. I don't think believing that the earth is flat is any more discordant with an obvious understanding than believing that there's a curse on humanity for existing. I'm sorry. I know they're nicer and blah, blah, blah. I know you don't think they're white nationalists and they don't burn crosses and they don't want to take your reproductive rights, but that doesn't make them correct. So when y'all tell me who the Christians are that don't believe in sin, don't believe in Jesus, don't believe in salvation through his bloody sacrifice and his miraculous resurrection, then we'll have the conversation about who the fucking fundies and the non-fundies are. Until then, they're all 50 Shades of Gray, if you feel me. And as soon as you show me that person, y'all, I'll show you a fucking atheist.
I'm not sure I would make this argument with as much certainty as Roos does. After all, there are some creative Christian solutions to this problem. But that's just it. They have to be a little too creative for my liking. And I'm not interested in the kind of creativity that seems like it's deployed primarily to get out of something pretty obvious and basic. Traditionally, believers have responded to the science versus religion discourse with something like the following. There's nothing about science itself that conflicts with religion, and many of the people who claim that there is are just assuming naturalism, right?
Which is not true. All right, so let's say this. Let me distinguish this, because y'all know I love to give me a little philosophy and science in there. What they're saying is a misrepresentation of the entire conversation. What they're saying is there are no facts that science has elucidated that we cannot create a narrative around that works. Which is, hopefully y'all realize how meaningless of a statement that actually is. What they're dodging is the real question, which is the fundamental incompatibility that science says ain't nothing a thing until it's testable. And religion starts with all sorts of shit that can't be subjected to testing at all. And that is what's a fundamental. So every time people tell me this, I'm like, most of the time I just roll my eyes. And honestly, Wayne, it's one of them things where, like, you get a certain job for a certain reason, right? Mm-hmm. But because you get that job, it's like if you love to bake pizzas, people gonna ask you that dumb question about flipping the pie and all of this stupid shit, and you're like, this really has jack shit to do with being a pizza maker, but all right, whatever, right? And it's like it's just one of those things where, to be honest with you, the answer is no, because of the fundamental differences in the epistemology. And it's such a non-issue to me that it gets like, don't get me wrong, if Derek wants to talk about Alina or Gnostic Informant, fine, like that's beautiful. But otherwise, this is not even an intelligent conversation for me anymore. Because it's the micro-macro debate. It's the thing you always want to ask a biologist that the biologist never wants to answer. When he thinks of what's a great question I'm in here today, it's never, I hope somebody asks me to distinguish between micro and macro evolution. I hope somebody, like, as a philosopher, no philosopher science, and somebody hopes to ask me if the epistemology of religion and science are actually compatible. Because it's just this song and dance, right, that we don't want to have because somebody wants us to tell them it's okay. Tell me it's okay, scientists. Mr. PhD, tell me it's okay. Tell me it's okay. I don't really want to tell you it's okay, but it's okay, right? And let me get something else out the way so people understand. This is what people really need to hear. Calm down, folks. You're allowed to believe in religion and science, okay? Nobody's going to take that from you. We're not going to make a new rule. But, like, y'all got to get over this. You cannot tell me this entire scientific endeavor that's all been... All that it's tangibly produced off of its very tangible process, all of the course corrections it's made, all of the discipline, the all-encompassing way it's touched every single aspect of our lives, and then you're going to go sit here and tell me it's somehow compatible with the hocus pocus we've been practicing since the infancy of our existence. Mm-hmm. I'm going to just tell you, I honestly think you need to grow up.
Out of the gate. Further, science as an enterprise fits better in a theistic universe than a naturalistic universe. If you're a religious theist, then I think something like this is probably what you should say, in addition to arguing that we do, in fact, need religious beliefs to explain reality. But notice that this is still...
And again, for those that missed it, it's the difference between the facts and the epistemology. You can always make the facts fit a story, but the epistemologies fundamentally are oil and motherfucking water.
Too vague to get out of how science challenges specific religious beliefs. Theism by itself won't protect you from claims like, we probably aren't the crowning jewel of the cosmos. Miracles are astronomically improbable, and so there isn't enough evidence to convert to your religion. The way you think your holy book says we came about, yeah, that's not true. Or hey, your central religious narrative is false. Even so, God probably doesn't exist anyway. Tap on this playlist to find out.
All right, so a couple things about that. The big one obviously is I'm really with them on this incompatibility. The thing I also feel like we got to distinguish between is, and again, I think a lot of it comes out of a very pro-social tendency. We want to give people as much as we can give them in conversations, which again I think is a mistake. Because you often go into conversations you know are leading into a debate. Why score points for the other team? That's not what we're here to do. So the thing that I think we're kind of less than honest with ourselves about is, yes, we can have a philosophical conversation about theoretically there's a way in which you can construct a religion that isn't incompatible with science. Right? Cool. But what religion is that? Oh, because I don't really want to talk about a hypothetical religion. I'm too busy worried about my life being dominated by the very real religions that are being practiced around me. So when we have the conversation about religion and science, go talk to a philosopher about what's philosophically possible between religion and science. Because if you're talking to Jay Bundy, I'm going to talk to you about science as it's practiced right the fuck now and religion as it's practiced right the fuck now. Which means I'm going to talk to you about the major religions of the world. And there's no doubt, right? So name me a major religion of the world that doesn't have a origin story or a aftergen story, if you will, or you know what I'm saying? They're all on that bullshit. So basically we go, well, yeah, theoretically religion and science are compatible. It's just that none of the religions anybody's practicing right now happens to be one of those religions. But let's talk about let's not. Like that seems like by definition a less productive conversation. Let's talk about religion as it's practiced right now. And we all know that's the major religions. They're mostly the Abrahamic and all of those types, and they're just no. Just the answer's no, right? Mm-hmm. If it's like, oh, well, it can be used to refute specific claims. Yeah, all of the specific claims of all of the religions people actually claim. So, well, again, why are we still going here, right?
Yeah, it's so fucking flawed to try and
It's a
find
comfort food
common
conversation.
ground. Yeah, it's fucking flawed to try and find common ground on a thing you can't test. How the fuck can you find common ground on a thing you can't test? When I mean the religious claims that they're putting forward. You want to sound like you can have a conversation, which is why we give them so much room and we try to have a philosophical talk when we're talking about actual things, testable things.
Right.
But at the end of the day, that only hurts the side of reason. You know what I mean? We're being as unreasonable as possible just so we can be in the same room with these people with these crazy ass thoughts that they don't accept from anyone else with a God of a different name. So
absolutely. James, we're in the ranch if you want to call in. And this is kind of another thing that I've realized since deconverting is I should have. Well, I think I was starting to think atheistic. Is probably why I left. But what I'm basically getting at is there's no religion that's inclusive. And I have a hard time getting in these conversations where people are like, oh, you need to be more open-minded. You need to work with religious people to find common. There's no such thing as finding, because you can't, I always say this, we're already standing on the common ground. Science, empiricism, humanism, everybody check your faith beliefs at the door, and we're going to go with what we can all empirically verify regardless of, feelings, emotions, and family history. That's the only common ground people get. Like, let's not be so stupid when we have these conversations to think we haven't already done that. People wake up and they look up at the news and they go, the world is so divided. We need to all come together. We need to lay down our arms and actually work together to solve solutions. Then we can find common ground and everything will be better. Well, welcome to the fucking dance, rookie. Why don't you go talk to one of these vets? Because people have thought about this before. Yeah, and we found the fucking common ground. Now come join us or shut the fuck up. Because if not, you're not serious. You're not serious. You're not. If you ask a scientist to find common ground with fucking potion casters, you're not serious. You're not serious. What you're doing is you're placating morons so you can think that we're somehow better with everybody together. We're not. I got an idea. I love me an Italian sub. It's got a lot of flavors in it. A lot of different, all the different Italian meats, lettuce, tomato, onions, you know what I'm saying? Salt, pepper, mayo, oil, and vinegar. But when I get it sometimes, you know, I ask myself, do I want to add a little hot pepper relish? What about some hot peppers? What about some... At some point, you got to say, it's too many flavors. I want my Italian. I don't want all of the subs at once. I want my Italian. I'll come back for a tuna later. Next time I'll have a turkey. Like, you don't need... You see what I'm saying? Y'all got to stop acting like we don't need everybody's voice. It's why I want Rebecca Davis to just literally blow up her channel. You're not adding. I feel the same thing about Doug. Like, people are like, oh, Doug, blah, blah, blah. Doug maybe has contributed like 2 or 3 decent halfway things that I'm sure somebody else would have came up with. They're really not that novel if you think about them. And a bunch of horse shit. A net negative, go the fuck away. You're not adding to the... I'm sorry, y'all, I'm not weak. I'm very confident. Like, honestly, the way the crew thinks around here, like, we'd be good if people thought like us. Like, we would be good. Like, we'd be like, no, we can captain the ship. We don't need no extra morons. We don't need no dead weight. We don't like, no, we're not. I'm not sorry. I'm not here to work with everybody. It's not. You got to be elitist about some shit. Not everybody, like, you know, you don't go to engineers and go, hey, you know, there's some 3rd graders playing with some Legos that got some great ideas. You guys should go hear them out. I'm not saying the 3rd graders ain't never gonna add anything to the conversation, but overall, it's a pretty inefficient method for getting shit done, right? And that's what I hear a lot of people saying to me. All right, now let's talk about the other thing that I'm really is a thing that's going on with Christians, and it's going on with the right too, and it's basically, I think all these people are full of shit, and I think they're bad people, and I think they're bad faith actors. Like I don't even buy a lot of the genuine. Nah, I think most believers have sheltered themselves in the ignorance in a certain way that makes them. They're just responsible at this point. Because there was always those things where they look like, and again, there's certain things even too, like when we listen to these testimonies, people are like, oh yeah, and then Jesus came to me and he was speaking to me. I'm sorry, I'm serious. I'm not about to look a 45-year-old woman in the face and say, hey, did you ever think that maybe you were just talking to yourself and that wasn't God? Like, I'm just not. You might tell me, no, Jay, she's really, no, they've thought about it. And whatever they've just decided that their internal comfort, imaginary friend, feelings of goodness is more important than literally reality. And I'm not going to keep acting like that's a virtuous way to be.
Yeah, you nailed it on the head, Jay. Like, I understand that reality is fucking hard. Being a human being is goddamn hard. And anytime that you can find, like, some mental peace in this world, you should embrace it, you should love it, but you should also examine it and realize that that's not a magical thing. That is an obtainable state of being that comes from, you know, interacting with other people. It's not given to you by some magic holy man. And if you look at the other religions besides, you know, the one that you're beholden to, if you're a theist, you'll realize, oh, that's the commonality among all of us. It's not just a faith thing, you know what I mean? It's cool to feel good, but like, examine it. Don't just throw it up to Jesus or whatever. You can feel good on your own.
Absolutely. And the thing that we're going to talk about, because we're going to start to look into some of this political stuff, and then we'll circle back around, of course. But, you know, the title, like I said, Righteous Republicans, the Red Wave of Silence. This is the same thing with Christians, I've realized. The real cowardice of all these people shows up when you realize what they won't say, what they're not talking about. And that is the sign of a person who knows they're on the wrong side of history, but has not found the courage to act. Because when they're in the leverage position, when they think they have the dominant position, they won't shut the fuck up. When they're around other believers, they won't shut the fuck up. So I'm not gonna buy that all of a sudden they became humble, quiet people. They're just trying to stay out of the limelight. They don't want to have the conversations. No, it's just they realize they're wrong because they realized they was in a relationship with somebody who wasn't gonna have it, and now they don't got nothing to say. Why are we talking about this? They just want something else to be in the news. And I'm not having it. Like, you're complicit by your silence. The same thing I say about church. I'm gonna sit up here and I'm gonna count every single time y'all sit up here and talk about porn. Now, tell me why, when, let's just say normal times, y'all think everything's right in the world, y'all wanna sit up here and mention porn 32 times in one sermon, but when there's an insurrection, I heard that term 0 times in your sermon. Interesting. Black motherfuckers getting shot by the police. I heard the term, I heard racism not a goddamn once in any of your sermons. That's interesting. Right? Like, and you know what I'm saying? So at some point, I'm like, no. Christians, y'all are just the problem. And I don't want to hear like, oh, well, I'm not anti. No. You know what they got to say about all this. Jesus is the reason for the season. Oh, hell, go come, let us adore him and all of this shit. But when they talk about that, maybe you don't hate LGBT, but you shut right the fuck on up, don't you? Oh, you ain't got nothing to say. You ain't got nothing to holler about now, do you?
I don't hate LGBT. I just don't say anything when
I see LGBT
harmed.
hate around me. Exactly. And it's the same shit these Republicans do. So I don't that's why I'm all up in these Republicans' ass, because we got some friends and family and some people up in this chat and on this stream that think they cool with us, that really think we not gonna roast their ass for supporting these Republicans.
I've gone over everything.
They're crazy. Like, listen, folks. I don't know what's wrong with me, but you know what it is, y'all? When you finally get the shit off your chest with your family, you really don't give a fuck what anybody else has to say at that point.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm just warming up this holiday season for a year that is going to be all about the ass whooping, because I'm actually fed up. It's like I'm remembering why I started this channel in the first place, because I'm fucking sick of it. All of it. I'm sick of the right wings. I'm sick of the conservatives. I'm sick of religion. I'm sick of all of it. The whole fucked up ass package has to go. And today, y'all sit tight, relax. It's gonna be a late night stream. But when I tell you the shit we gonna get into this stream today is heavy, I mean, shit is gonna be fun, y'all. But it's gonna get heavy.
I'm sick of it. I'm taking I've been able to find out. Nobody liked Dominion voting systems. Nobody. Has anybody forensically examined
But I'm leaving the gloves on because I got razor blades on them, and I ain't cutting myself, Wayne.
These machines since the election?
We have only been allowed access to a few of them. We've got evidence of corruption all across the country in countless districts. They used the machines to trash large batches of votes that should have been awarded to President Trump.
Jack, I want to turn now.
Isn't James here?
I am.
Oh,
hey.
Yeah. James, how you doing, man? How you liking the new Saturday night set, James?
I love it. It's creative. It's fun.
All right. James, I got to let this roll a couple minutes, but this is a James Apperson special because this is basically a follow-up. You know, you always talk about the fact that Fox News had to come out and admit that their shit is, you know, not to be taken seriously. And they said that under oath, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, nobody would take this stuff, even though they know everybody takes it seriously. And this new development, I think, is the next layer on top of that. Because we already knew this, but this is like the next piece of Fox unraveling in court, James.
Yeah. Hey, real quick.
Go ahead.
The lady that was talking, that was one of Trump's head lawyers. And on the Dominion, I believe it was the Dominion lawsuit where Rudy got sued for like $1 billion or whatever.
Right.
She was mentioned in that lawsuit, and it was said like no sane person should believe anything that she says. Like that's on record, bro.
Wow. Yeah, like that's their defense when they need one, right? When they finally get it's like, oh well, nobody should take us seriously. And man, it's funny, like, but would we be able to like get Christians to swear on the Bible to tell the truth about the Bible and then get them under oath to admit that they know the Bible's full of shit? It would just be such an interesting exercise in cognitive dissonance and to see how all of this goes down.
Or, it'd be fun. You ask them to swear on a Bible, right? But you give them a different version than the one they grew up on. And then you tell them after the fact and see what they do. It's not my Bible.
It doesn't count. Doesn't count. I'm a NIV man. That was a King James.
Right. This is an ESV.
Poison pills, and those are the ones that have been given out by Sean Hannity now for quite some time. There's a major lawsuit against him, against Fox News, from a defamation lawsuit from Dominion. You'll know Dominion is the vote counting machines, and the people that they've gone after said that this was a skewed election. Well, it turns out that Sean Hannity now says, all along, he knew it was. He was asked under oath in an August deposition if he agreed with the theories that voter fraud and there was voter fraud and Democratic interference in the election. He said, I do not believe it for 1 second. This is from the New York Times, and that was from the court testimony. I do not believe it for 1 second. This is someone who went on television and talked about it as if it was fact every single night, all day long, and on the radio, on podcasts. This is someone who pushed that theory, that false theory, and he now says, Jank, that he didn't believe it for 1 second.
Yo, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead,
I
guys.
just found something on Hannity. This is from Splinter News. They're saying that a Guardian report links Hannity to a group of shell companies that spent at least $90 million on more than 870 homes in 7 states over the past decade. So Sean Hannity, his role in a lot of this Trump shit was that he did a lot of real estate business with the same shitty-ass, shady people that Trump does real estate business with. And he has a whole empire, and that's why he was towing the Trump line forever, because Trump goes down, he goes down because he does real estate business with those people. I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you for that additional information. It's all a grift, and you know, it gets at James's talk about the mafia. Go ahead, James, get in here.
Yeah. Damn that mafia. That's my contribution to that.
Yeah, but I mean, they're going to talk about it more. But I think, so what I mean by this is the next layer on what you said. So you got them, you know, so we had them on the record basically saying, hey, this is entertainment. Nobody should take this seriously, right? I think this is the next level where they're now saying, oh no, I lied every night. Oh yeah, I just got out there straight up. Because a lot of things, like you could take my show, right? And if somebody sued me for something I said, I'd say the same goddamn thing. I'm a scientist. I'm a fucking entertainer. If you took something I said and you know took it to the hilt, I'm sorry. I try to be as honest as I can, but
sure,
I'm not a fucking journalist, right? It's just truth, right? You know, and so I think they could have still gone that, right? They still had the Daily Show out. We're an entertainment show, but we're still bringing you the news. We're still telling you, right? Like I don't think them saying nobody takes us seriously because we're an entertainment talking head opinion show. We knew what they meant. They meant we're full of shit and everybody knows it. But technically, it could mean we're news commentary, we're opinion, we're about the news, not the news, right? Now we have them on record saying, oh, and we're straight lying. Oh yeah, and not for a second did I believe any of the things I then went out and said. night in right? Like I think it's a again, we all know this, right? But it's a qualitatively different on the record admission legally to me.
Right. I also have a question for you, Jay.
Go ahead.
If a person that you voted for came out and said, "I have been lying about everything," would you vote for that person again?
No, there's no chance. There's no chance. And this is what I mean when I say these people only understand power. Mm-hmm. It's the only reason they're trying to do other things now somewhat is because, like everything else in life, their privilege trumps everything, which is a handicap. So it takes you that much longer than everybody else to see what everybody else sees. And so they're finally realizing Trump's really a loser, and that probably is an irreversible fate. Although they haven't fully accepted that.
Yeah.
But that's the only reason. It's because he's no longer the most direct. And you can tell it because even as they get off, they're not saying, oh, we're leaving the Trump train. They're saying we don't want Trump driving it. They're saying we want Trump policies. We want Trump people. We just don't want Trump because he's not the winner for MAGA anymore.
Right. They want the exact same thing again. Like you said, with the same policies. They just want it in somebody slightly more likable. That's it. That's why they're betting on DeSantis.
Yeah, less damaged in the public, less damaged.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, so hang on a second, real quick, James, before I'm going to let you go. But Doorknob Head, who's kind of new here, and you'll love this, James, actually said, these people, what if the FBI/CIA designed it so the mafia would take over the government for a term so they can purge them all later. And then he says, I know, not a thing, but a boy can dream. Now, here's what's funny. In all seriousness, Doorknob Head, we have someone we're acquainted with in our community who made an actual YouTube video on their channel, which we like to call Call of Duty and Chill, because instead of just having like Gather on the screen or, playing Farmville or whatever, they play Call of Duty, taking out terrorists while talking about domestic terrorism. And they made a video about how the Las Vegas mass shooting, where, let me remind you, a lone gunman took an automatic rifle and shot up a bunch of white people like fish in a barrel from a hotel window at a motherfucking Jason Aldean concert. Yes.
Killed 50, injured over 500.
Yes. Now, they claimed that this was an FBI and CIA false flag operation by the left conducted for the purposes of promoting gun control.
You fucking kidding me?
Yes. They said that the government got together with the leftists, business, whatever, whoever's pulling the strings. And then they thought, I know a great way to push gun control. Let's shoot up a bunch of white people at a country music concert. That definitely sounds like something the U.S. government definitely would do. Absolutely. Yeah. That's standard operating procedure.
Yeah, the government wants to shoot taxpayers.
It just
That's
loves,
what they want to do.
Yeah. Now, if he'd have had me on the hook, if he'd have switched that shit up to like a Jay-Z concert or something, I'd have been like, now you might be on something, but the Jason Aldean concert is a total hard false. Like, nope, no, because they could have just shot up a bunch of black and brown people and gone for that. Like, no, there's no way they shot up a country music concert, shot up a bunch of white people. Nope, sorry.
That false flag shit.
You're not recognizing the priority of life in this country. Go ahead.
Exactly. That false flag shit, man. It's just right-wing dudes not being intellectually honest, and they don't want to deal with the repercussions of the violence that they talk about and they want. So when the extreme violence does happen in America, it's always a false flag. It's always someone else's fault. There's something going on. They don't ever want to say this is a citizen who looks like me who did something bad. They never want to do that.
Absolutely.
it's just a sidestep to try and not engage in the conversation we're trying to have.
100%. I know there's a few other people on the panel. Anybody else? I'm gonna roll tape, but if anybody else have anything first?
Well, I mean, it's all predictable, right? It's like no matter what chaos they cause, as soon as the repercussions happen, the violence, the mayhem, the carnage, whatever, then they create this fantasy scenario instantly to say, oh, well, that was just the liberals staging what they told us would happen if we didn't, behave better.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, that was just. I didn't even mean to get a sidetrack, but it was such a funny hypothetical comment, and then I'm like, it's so actually what people we talk to out here really think.
Sure.
At least they tell us that's what they really think, and
that's what they really say.
And that's
They're
what
not
I'm saying.
Thinking.
When we say we can't write this shit, we can't write this shit. Like somebody comes up with the chat, and we go, nope, sorry, that's not even fiction anymore. Check the catalog a few weeks ago, and you'll see the footage. God, the internet is awful.
Look, this is a double whammy against Fox News. This is devastating, and it also goes to show you, man, Hannity is not that bright. Every lawyer in the building in Fox News must have been ripping their hair out, because let me tell you the part that is not getting enough attention about this. In order for Dominion to win, by the way, a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit against Fox, they don't have to just prove that Sidney Powell and Mike Lindell and others on Fox News were lying about them. They have to prove bad intent, malice, okay? That Fox News knew that it wasn't true and they put it on the air anyway. That is a very tough standard. But Hannity just helped them prove it. Yeah, he just said, yeah, I didn't believe it for 1 second. And we have clip after clip of him airing those theories out, even though he didn't believe it. That's bad intent. That's malice.
It is.
Right. And to me, it's like, this is the thing we're going to be talking about, because this is kind of like, I don't disagree with what they say, and I'm happy to have James here, because you talk about a lot of these things. But the only thing that to me is going on here that I'm trying to add to the mix is just, why aren't they talking about this? And we got to stop letting people not talk about this shit, because here's what's going on right now, all across America. First off, let me show you guys something hilarious that's going on right now. Let's go back to our favorite place, YouTube. Let's get a good old right side broadcasting network, whatever. Where's RSBN, baby? Here we go. So what are these fools doing right now? Where's their thing? All right, see, they're live. All right, so check this out.
Why
guys.
the ending is so wild.
Oh crap. Sorry, I got like a million accounts, so I always pull up the wrong one. I always pull up the one that gets commercials. All right, so check this out, y'all. This is the Santa tracker, which, by the way, everybody that doesn't understand what being a projectionist is about and hates on people who stream and they're not on camera, go fuck yourselves. This is what I'm talking about. You don't have to be on camera. You don't even have to be talking. You don't even have to make content. You could just broadcast some thing on your screen and just be live around the clock, provide a space for this was the original vibe of the casino. It was like, look, I gotta go to bed. I have to actually, yes, even I have to sleep. So I'm gonna play a movie playlist overnight. You guys can watch the movies. It's actually work to put the movie list together, and I'm gonna go to bed. You guys chat, link up with the gang, and I'll see you in the morning. And to be honest, it's fucking amazing. Actually, that was the whole vibe. We loved it, and that's why we do the overnights now and gather. But but no, seriously, this was the whole thing, right? Is that it's a projection, like you're making a little channel. So anyway, what is going on around this country right now, folks? People are gathered around with their family. They've got Right Side Broadcasting Network on one screen, watching Santa fly around the virtual world.
Yep.
Brought to you by Science and Technology, motherfuckers. Anyway. And on the other screen, they've got what? Fox News. And Tucker Carlson.
And they're locked up in their fucking house, and they're not talking about climate change.
Exactly. Exactly. And there's going to be, I guarantee you, radio silence about the fact that the very people that are lying to them tonight have just gone into court on the record and admitted to lying to them every single night. I guarantee you it's happening right now. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
This happened back in 2001. There was a case that happened in Florida where Fox News had to testify that they do opinion pieces. They're not
that's
doing...
what James was. Yeah, that's the thing I was saying about earlier. Yeah, that James was talking about. But yeah, and I was just saying, this is the next step of that. That was step one. This is step two. And again, when are they going to get a clue? And this Christmas will be a very special Christmas indeed. You know why? Because most of the time, Christmas is all in the middle of the week on an awkward time and shit. No, not this year. These motherfuckers are getting that Christmas Eve service tonight where the pastor is lying to them right now about the
birth of Jesus.
The greatest story ever told. And then, oh my God, is it not the miracle of Christmas that Jesus was born on a Sunday morning this year? And it's going to be a double, triple whammy of carols and hymns and I hope the blood porn. The good. I love when the pastors here's what the smart pastors do. Let me set it up for you. I don't know about the ministry game like Jay Bundy do. I'm about to take you inside the mind of ministry development. This is why I got that Scrooge McDuck Bible University. I'm about to show y'all the minister game right here. Here's how you set them up. All right. What you do is you get them in on Christmas Eve. Everybody wants to go to church on Christmas Eve. Oh, it's nice. So what you do is you bring out the orchestra. You got to make sure you had a children's choir. Oh, yeah, you got to have a little children's choir. You have everybody get their little candles, right? Everybody lights their candles, okay? And then you do the little nativity scene in the back with all the music and shit. And then you deliver to them the greatest story ever told, all about how the beam of the star came down and led the wise men and the shepherds and you just it's all about joy to the world. The Lord has come. Okay, and it's just amazing. And you send the people home inspired and just uplifted, just to think about it, that God himself, he took on human form and entered the world through a virgin, pure and innocent, free of sin, just for you and me to achieve salvation. It is amazing, right? And then you end with just a little note, just a little note. You just sprinkle this note just at the end. You say, we hope you've had a wonderful time tonight, and we hope we get to see you tomorrow on Christmas morning. Have a good night, everybody. And you send the people home. Oh, they're just feeling great. Oh, it's fucking wonderful. All right, y'all with me so far, right? Everybody feel good? Yes, yes, everybody feeling. Jesus is the reason for the season. Now, what you do when you get them in on Sunday morning? Oh, bring the motherfucking house lights down. Shit is about to get real.
Hey, Jay.
Now, hang on, Wayne.
I'll go for it.
Now, last night, I told you about the greatest story ever told. But today, I have to tell you about the cost, about the price that was paid, right? And that's when you tell them about Judas and the Last Supper scene. And the scene in the garden. And then you give them what they came for, that blood porn. You tell them about how he was whipped after he was betrayed. He was stripped. He was humiliated. And he was dragged through the streets. And his mother was crying, and all the women would, no, Jesus. And Jesus, he didn't care. He was like, oh, bless you, bless you. And they was, women don't talk to women. How dare you talk to those women? And he fell 3 times, and Simon had to help carry him. Jesus was he had his ass whooped so much, he couldn't even make it. So Simon had to help him carry it. And then they laid him out. They laid him out on the cross, y'all. And then the pastor gets real good. He goes, now in ancient Rome, I had to give you guys a history lesson. Now in ancient Roman times, you guys got to remember that being crucified is a very difficult physical experience. And nobody actually just sits there and lays there. Your instinct is to struggle. So somebody had to hold him down. There had to be at least one soldier pinning down his forearm with his foot like this. And then the other, they use these really big anvils. They're about the size of this bottle. And they took a nail. The nail was also about the size of this bottle.
Of course. Oh, sweet
And
Jesus.
then they just wham, wham, wham. And Jesus cried out in agony. Oh, the blood. There was blood everywhere. oh man. That's how you do it. That's how you set him up on Sunday. You set him up on Christmas Eve, knock him down on Christmas morning. All right, go ahead, Joe. Oh man, go ahead, James. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think of my technique there? You think my tactics?
I mean, it sounds like you're speaking from experience. I mean, is that how you're treating it?
You think?
Yeah.
No, there's just a lot of that. There's a lot of that. But
I mean, I think that sounds like traumatizing for children. Like, that's child abuse, even having a child sit through that.
Yes, I actually have sat through a few of those blood, crucifixion porn sermons. They're like they watched The Passion of the Christ a few too many times. That was like their favorite bro movie.
Wow, that's just awful.
It really is. All right, let's listen to these morons.
This was the case going on his show the very same month that Joe Biden won the presidency. And this is what Powell said when she came on his, or if we can go to number 2 here, she on the Hannity show tied together Trump bogeyman, as the Daily Beast noted in the write-up, including the dead Venezuelan dictator Hugo Chavez, liberal philanthropist George Soros, communist Chinese money, and the CIA. That's from David Folkenflik. On NPR. So he kept entertaining this, and again, if you think that this is a minor part of our press,
I'm like, what the hell is going on? The Right Side Broadcasting is still playing.
So y'all a little jazzy.
Y'all just learned a lot about my life. I watch a lot more Right Side Broadcasting Network than I care to admit. Every time they live stream, YouTube is like, so you're tuning in, right? And I'm like, yeah, I am.
Jay, you still on the Young Turks. You love to hate watch shit. It's amazing.
I do. I hate watch all the Right Side Broadcasting stuff, especially because I hate to say it, they're about that MAGA life. So they're training up like their own little cult of new MAGA commentators, and they cover shit nobody else covers. David Pakman is the same way, right? Like if you watch his Trump, rally coverage, it's often Right Side because most of the news outlets aren't covering it. You end up in the. It's just like Uncle Bobby's always, I'm sure like every morning he wakes up to the newest from PragerU and shit.
This is someone who was on the most watched cable network, on probably the most watched show, though I don't know that to be the case. And this is what people are seeing. They're seeing him say these things and then come around and said, I didn't believe it for a second. What does that say about Fox?
Yeah, and Hannity's actually the second most watched. Tucker Carlson's number 1, but Tucker Carlson also implicated here, also took a deposition. The judge cut off the lawyers before they said the exact quotes that Tucker Carlson said, but it was clear from the record that Tucker Carlson hemmed and hawed and tried to avoid the question of whether he knew that the charges of vote rigging was false. But apparently, according to the lawyers, basically, although not as in starker terms as Hannity said it, agreed, yes, they knew that it wasn't true, and they carried it anyway.
Let's talk about the lawyers on the other side.
Hey, Wayne.
What's up?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say something.
Oh, I apologize if I'm getting a lot of scratchiness in my mic or whatever.
No.
Nah, the only thing I gotta say is like, I used to be such a believer in Jank. I thought Jank was the truth for so long, and then I realized he's just getting a paycheck, and I respect him. I respect this outlet, and it's not like I tune him out. It's just like I see Jank just like Rachel Maddow, and because he used to be Rachel Maddow, and he like wants to be that again. He just, he wants to be
right, or like the left.
Yeah.
NBC, yeah.
He wants to be a quote unquote real leftist Rachel Maddow. That's it.
Yeah, I respect the hustle though.
Right, I mean, this is Fox News. This is a behemoth. So going up against Fox News, a pretty tough thing to do. And people thought that Fox probably had an advantage to some degree in this case. As a matter of fact, Jeremy Peters of the New York Times wrote that the high legal standard of proof in defamation cases makes it difficult for a company like Dominion to prevail against a media organization like Fox News. Dominion has to persuade a jury that people at Fox were in effect saying one thing in private while telling their audience exactly the opposite. That requires showing a jury convincing evidence that speaks to the state of mind of those that were making the decisions at the network. Well, in Delaware Superior Court on yesterday in Delaware, the Dominion's lawyers argued that they had obtained ample evidence to make the case that, in fact, they know that Fox knew what was going on. One lawyer for Dominion said not a single Fox witness so far had produced anything supporting the various false claims about the company that were uttered repeatedly on the network. Not a single Fox witness and had produced any evidence here. And this is, it's affirming to people like you and me and the people that are watching this, most of them anyway, who knew this, right? Who knew that Fox was going on, was telling other people that they were fake news, when in fact, they were purveying the fakest news that we have ever seen in this country.
Exactly.
And they knew they were doing it. It was performance art.
Yeah, and
all right, so that's kind of the deal there, and the reason I wanted to include that part is because this is actually could be very costly for Fox, right? So this is a lot of money at stake in this lawsuit. They absolutely should lose it, and not only did he say the quiet part out loud, he said the one thing you can't say out loud to win this particular lawsuit. Like, I mean, right? It's the same thing with like Trump really fucking himself over with the witness tampering, because whatever plausible deniability you have goes away when you tamper with the witness. Which is why the witness tampering stuff has been made such a big deal about lately, because it could end up, being a huge linchpin in the whole thing. And the same might be true here, because I don't see how Dominion loses this suit. Maybe there's a lot of skirting around what the actual number should be in the end. So here's the question, James. Do you see either something coming out of this that can lead to something like, or like new regulation, or do you think even like there could be enough financial consequences for Fox to change up, or do they just take the hit and keep on trucking?
They just keep the hit and keep on trucking. We're never going to have the majority of votes that we need in every branch of the government that we need at any given time in order to make the necessary legislative changes. There's always going to be too many grifters on the take that are complicit in that are going to block it. And there's always going to, and the majority of their fan base is going to remain completely oblivious because they're just cultified. Their brain is just turned to mush. They just believe all that shit. It's a religion for them. Mm-hmm. And you're never going to be able to tell them otherwise. So there's zero accountability. It's just not going to happen.
I almost
when
feel
you
like,
weigh that against
good. No, you're good.
When you weigh that against the fact that even many of the key players on the Democratic side are bad faith actors themselves, it's not like it's even a 50-50 thing, this tug of war thing that they project. They make it look like it is, but it's not.
Right.
So nope, nothing's going to change. It's just going to get worse.
The other thing is I almost feel like this is what we deal with on the internet, where, there might be certain terms of service in place, that you shouldn't do hate speech, you shouldn't do misinformation, there are consequences if you do blah, 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 but not really. And then the people who just openly do it, who are like, let me just, actually make content where hate is the purpose of it. Hate, just hate, misinformation is the whole thing, right? They, at worst, see it as, okay, so I might make a video once in a while that goes too far and gets demonetized, or I'll get a slap on the wrist from the channel. You can't upload for a couple days or whatever, right? And then, they just see it as it'll just drive more Patreon usage, more subs, more sponsorships. And so it almost becomes the cost of doing business. And like Fox News isn't. So I'm thinking are you on the perspective of Fox News isn't going to be happy about this, but ultimately they look at this as like a big payout of hush money where they're just going to pay out whatever it is, and then they'll be humiliated in front of the rest of the world, but it won't matter at this point. So they'll just ignore it on their channel, and it's a little hit for the bottom line that month, I guess.
Yep.
Really, really.
So
go ahead.
I did share a link here a little bit ago in the chat for Gather, and this is their moral philosophy. If anybody's interested, it's a scene from a movie, but this is how they think of it.
Oh, you dropped it. Oh yeah. Let me pull it up.
And you don't have to play it. It's just there.
Millions find a low-cost health.
No, I want to. I just I got it. I have 2 YouTube Premium accounts, and neither of them is the Pocket Locker account. All right.
That's fine. Yeah, I've got Premium.
Wake up, little spider. Wake up. No, you're not dead yet. Just paralyzed. Temporarily. You're an amazing creature, Spider-Man. You and I are not so different.
Wait, is this gonna get the stream pulled?
Oh, I don't know. Would it?
I don't know. It's on this channel. I guess they're all right.
I'm not like you. You're a murderer.
Well, to each his own. I chose my path, you chose the way of the hero. And they found you amusing for a while, the people of this city. But the one thing they love more than a hero is to see a hero fail. Die trying.
Oh yeah, I should have done that. But yeah, all right. We'll move on to something else because I don't want to get the stream pulled.
Yeah, I don't want to get you. I don't want to get you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, they're completely morally bankrupt. What's Wayne? Is this the same link that you dropped, or is it something else?
So the fun thing with the serpent is how does.
Whoa. That dude dropped in. I think so. That's another interesting thing, right? So we talk about hate watching. So like, a thing that's very likely to happen is when channels get monetized. It's like the Christian organizations and stuff. They'll start like basically hate advertising on your channel. So it's all part of this whole messy thing we find ourselves in.
Yeah.
I'm still stuck on this. I'm going through these 200 apparent acts.
All right, gang, we got one more piece on Republic Trash, and then we're going to get into the heavier portion of the show. But I'm all about this shit. I am here for this. The years of dealing with these people has been dog shit. And like I said, they only respond to power. So holding them accountable is the only option we have. And I actually feel the same way about dealing with apologists, which is that if they're really serious about it the way I think most of the people that we know are serious about it, there ultimately is going to have to be some social repercussions before they leave it alone. And I think that could just be, somebody told a story, I can't think of the name of the channel, but basically he was telling a story about how I think his stepmother said that she came to faith because she realized she was blessed with such a wonderful child. But eventually, I guess that son became a non-believer, like an ardent non-believer, and talked her out of it. So I thought that was kind of a fun story. Like the reason she became a believer is also the reason she left her faith.
Yeah, it's a shame that my mom wasn't rehabilitatable.
You never know. You tried though, right?
Yeah, I tried. She's beyond hope.
I think you gotta kind of know for yourself. I think at some point.
Well, my mom has narcissistic personality disorder. Like she's been officially diagnosed and everything. So, I mean, it's part of it. Like it's just her religion is the expression of that disorder for her,
right.
And you can't cure that disorder. So she'll always be who she is.
Yeah, I fear that with the people I know. Although I don't know how much of it's the internal tie to the religion versus the social ties. Also, James, I think that's James. Can you mute out if you're because you're playing, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Public or private outreach, pressure, or condemnation targeting either state legislators or state and local election administrators to overturn state elections.
Yeah, it was the 100% atheist dude we watched ago. You know what? Let me quickly pull it up because he's a content creator. He's near 1,000 subscribers. He's actually really good. And, if you're not already subbed to him, I should drop him a link. It's the holiday season. What the hell? We'll be here for a while. Here we go. The Unrepentant Atheist. I actually like this guy. He's a totally different presentation style than me, obviously, but a really good guy.
Election results. This included at least 68 meetings, attempted or connected phone calls or text messages, each aimed at one or more state or local officials. 18 instances of prominent public remarks with language targeting one or more such officials. It goes on and on. How, after this, Carol, can Trump, his team, Fox News, conservative media possibly blow off the big lie like it's just some liberal tagline? The facts are here.
This is part of why the first tip of the iceberg, Steph, that we saw of the DOJ's investigation of Donald Trump's orbit related to January 6th was focused on the fake elector scheme. The president and his aides' use of the office to pressure, bully, threaten all sorts of states, and also, honestly, to seduce and woo some state legislature leaders. Remember his invites to the Pennsylvania.
James, this is crazy. Like 200 instances plus of coercion.
Sure.
And like bribery and all sorts of stuff. And they had these people's lawyers turning on them.
But that stuff's only illegal. It's not enforceable if you're Trump. If you're one of the people in Trump's position, you can't be held accountable for this stuff. We are wasting our time. We're documenting it for history. Great. Right. We're proving the case for history. We're reaffirming it for each other.
Right.
But that's it. That's all that's going to happen because all the people that it requires to stand against him and say, okay, it's been proven, we have to admit it, are people that are complicit. Too many of those people are complicit in his crimes. They can't afford to find him guilty. They can't afford to hold him accountable because then they have to hold themselves accountable. So this is the nature of the perfect grift. And, they just asked us, how can anybody deny it when we have all the facts in? And I'm like, the same way the Christians can deny it. They do not care about the facts. They don't care about accountability or ethics or truth or anything else. They care about their power. They care about their grift and their privilege. To hell with everything else. And that's what it boils down to.
James, you took the words right out of my mouth, literally. I mean, to be honest, that's the only reason why we try to put these things side by side so often.
Yeah.
Is because it's the same playbook by the same people. But yeah, guys, the link is in the description. Please subscribe to James Apperson. Really, really appreciate y'all.
Legislative leaders and Wisconsin leaders, swing states he needed, inviting them in to talk a little bit about, election fraud and electors in general. The way Rudy Giuliani operated.
Yeah, we're in the ranch. I think, Uriah, you probably have access in the email. If not, the link that's pinned in the description is a public one, and we'll be there after the show. We're going to be in the winter gathering family public link all weekend. We're just here for the few hours for the show because of the set.
The way
we're on Bundy Ranch.
Mark Meadows was keeping tabs on this effort. It's part of why the first subpoenas that we saw traces of that had to do with Trump's orbit had to do with the electors scheme. That was earlier this year and late in the fall. And what is the first thing that Special Counsel Jack Smith asks for, Steph, when he is 4 days in office after being appointed by Attorney General Merrick Garland? The first thing he asks for are all of these different swing state officials, county election officials, all of their potential communications with about 24 different lawyers, mostly for Donald Trump, who were acting on his behalf in this effort to try to change the results in key states.
The fake elector scheme. You go to page 268, Katie, and you've got Newsmax CEO Chris Ruddy, who had Trump's ear, regularly making recommendations to Trump's inner circle on how to further this elector scheme. Will there not be consequences for these people? You and I hear every day about the liberal media. This is a man who runs a news organization advising the former president on a scheme to overturn the election.
Well, I think first, I want to address your question, but going back, this isn't the first time in the report we see all sorts of folks in sort of further right-leaning media being really embedded in the Trump machine, the larger, broader Trump machine, including a lot of hosts on Fox News, to your point, Chris Ruddy at Newsmax, really acting as advisors, a second tier of advisors to the president. So,
James, are you a Surgeon General label warning at this point with these guys? Is that something you talked about? I forget. Where like they should have to put something on basically like the pack of cigarettes. Like they should have to put something on their broadcasts that says.
Oh yeah, they should have to. That we lie constantly. At best, this is for entertainment purposes only. Therefore, we have to broadcast under an entertainment license. If this were real news, we would be able to broadcast with a real news license. That way, they're allowed to say whatever they want to, and their free speech isn't infringed upon. But they're not able to trick the public into thinking that it's actually news.
Yeah, we're going to affectionately nickname that the Media Surgeon General's warning or whatever. Right. Yeah.
That is an unusual, I think, amount of closeness between the media and the president.
Is cancerous.
But that is certainly, I will say that only as my opinion. But then to your point, of course, this sort of constant barrage of different ways to overturn the election and the fake elector scheme, this is going to be something that the U.S. Attorney's Office has already been hard at work trying to discern, that Jack Smith is going to continue to try to discern which parts of this are rise to federal crime, meaning some sort of federal statute was violated, versus what we're seeing, for example, in a state like Georgia, where there's an ongoing investigation there that certainly looks at the way that election officials and election procedures are may have been manipulated in that state. And so, yes, you have to wonder whether or not there will be accountability, but that's why people are so thoroughly looking at this issue. But I think that one of the interesting things about the report, and it sort of tangentially gets at this, is that the report is very good at highlighting things that it thinks are very wrong, even if it does not think that it can criminally refer them per se. So I think that the fake elector scheme is a very fascinating example of this. They outline it. They think that something very dreadful, something wrong, something possibly criminal has happened, but they're not making criminal referrals on any of the people, for the most part, involved in that scheme, other than.
The thing that's amazing about these people is that I'm with James that this is when you see grift and privilege mixed up in these things, here's where you recognize it, guys. It's the sloppiness. when you don't have these things, you have to have your game a little bit together. So we watched a video the other night in Gather. Some of you may have seen it. You can just look up Michigan fake electors. And there's a video where they come to the Capitol and they try to get in to cast their illegal votes. And literally the police, that guy's probably sergeant at arms, like he's like the top copper. He comes out and he's like, yeah, according per the orders of the governor, the secretary of the Senate, the leader, like all the top officials, like, yeah, y'all can't come in here. Yeah, all the electors are here already, like everything. And then they leave. They don't leave. Like as they're leaving, their lawyer comes over, takes his mask off, and just runs down the whole thing. Oh yeah, we're here to cast it, and just he gives his name, the organization, what they're there for. He has the things like, oh yeah, here's our sealed ballots. Like he's like, they're signed, sealed, and we're trying to be delivered. I guess I didn't do a good job of Motown. Ha ha ha. And I'm like, ha ha ha, bro, it's about to be played back in federal court. I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, right. I'm a lawyer for da-da-da. I'm like, not for long. Like, but that's what I'm saying. Like, they're bad. Like, when you think you can get away with it, you don't try hiding it anymore. Like, you're really bad. Like, basic criminals know you don't snitch, and you definitely don't hire the lawyer who snitches on you and himself. That's not a good look. That's not how you do crime.
Right.
Like, y'all got the game all fucked up. Like, they're bad at this. Like, they'll be like, you know, how did most of them end up in jail on January 6th? This is me on Nancy Pelosi's desk. Yeah, fuck this hoe. Hang Joe Biden. like y'all don't know how to do dirt yet? Ain't nobody. See, all that time you spent avoiding the hood, we could have taught y'all a thing or two about this. Oh man, yeah. Man, y'all not used to living illegal. All right, look now. We're gonna talk about something that is one of our favorite topics around here, and it's gonna tie all the way back to religion and ruining Christmas. We're going to talk about the coonery of Trash Panda Candace Owens and her latest hot take on the Confederate flag. Then we're going to break that whole thing down, and then shit's going to get real. Because since this raggedy ass bitch is going to sit here and misrepresent and disrespect true American history, we're going to get a dose of real American history. And yeah, we're going to deal with that. So let's
thoughts on the Confederate flag. I do not see a problem with people whose family members died fighting for that flag to be able to wave it high.
Too bad you ain't watching this show.
As if you need me to tell you, that was the Candace Owens podcast, which I'm sure all of you caught, especially since it was the Christmas podcast. That was yesterday. She went on to give the reasoning, crazy reasoning for what she just said.
You have to be so weaponized and so ignorant to look that good. And I'm thinking I'd rather fuck that thorny ass Christmas tree in the background than this raggedy ass bitch.
And why people should be able to proudly display the fact.
And I know what you're thinking, James. She would make a good hate fuck.
You know it.
But at this point, I'd still end up in jail. They'd be like, that was an assault. That was an assault. That doesn't even count. That's beyond. Right. That's beyond. That was, that was a felony.
It is historical. And the idea that your son or daughter went and marched in a war, people are just so stupid. They think they were fighting for slavery. Those people who fought were piss poor. They never had a slave a single day in their life. They fought for the South. And their sons signed up, went to war, and now they're told that even having the flag or having any pride for their dead relatives is something.
Now, for those that don't recognize Trash Panda Barbie here, this is someone who made a name for herself, suing her school for being racist to her, and then basically turning around and deciding that racism is actually not a problem. And literally, that's her life story. I used racism to get me a little bit of the pie. I'm now gonna pretend racism is not a part of that pie. It's unbelievable.
Thing that is wrong and dirty and backwards and racist and associated.
Oh yeah, and she was Kanye's little piece with the White Lives Matter t-shirt. Yeah, that's her. This is White Lives Matter, Candace Owens.
With slavery, people are so ignorant about slavery and the numbers on slavery. I mean, the idea that everyone had slaves in the South is so stupid. It was incredibly uber wealthy. People believing that everyone today had a yacht. I mean, it's just so. I'm just going to stop ranting about it. The answer is.
Come on, y'all. Y'all like that. Y'all know that's the Kent Hovind Christmas wear. Come on, look at that. That's a Hawaiian shirt. That's a Hawaiian shirt trying to pass itself off as a high fashion holiday look. No, I know a goddamn Hawaiian shirt when I see one.
People should be allowed to keep their Confederate flags and wave them because it represents.
You got that at Dino Adventureland. That is not from Gucci.
It's an extraordinary thing. I mean, you kind of don't know where to begin with Candace Owens. It is not at all, just let me say that, like people who own yachts today. And the owning of one slave is enough if it was represented by the Confederate flag. To say that because not everybody had slaves, there was nothing to do with slavery and why the Confederacy fought the Civil War is about as wrong-headed in history as you could possibly be. And then let's talk to let's listen to what people or read what people wrote in Slade. Jamel Bowie, of course, who went to UVA. Speaking of Thomas Jefferson, according to the 1860 census taken just before the Civil War, more than 32% of white families in the soon-to-be Confederate States owned slaves. 32%. That's not as many people as own yachts. Of course, this is an average, and different states had different levels of slaveholding. In Arkansas, just 20% of families owned slaves. In South Carolina, it was 40%, 46%. In Mississippi, it was 49%. Let's just take that. In Arkansas, only 20% of Arkansans owned slaves, so no big deal. They go on to say slavery.
Sorry, gang, I got confused. YouTube Punk said Majority Report had some takes too. I guess you guys can look that up. Majority Report talking about Candace Owens. Also, YouTube Punk, we got to figure out how they do the color with those panels in the set.
At the foundation of economic and social relations, and slave ownership was aspirational, a symbol of wealth and prosperity, like a yacht, right? Whites who couldn't afford slaves wanted them in the same way that today most Americans want to own a home. Many whites couldn't imagine Southern society without slavery. And when it was threatened, those whites, whether they owned slaves or not, took up arms to defend that way of life. To say that the Civil War, as represented by the Confederate flag, the Confederacy, if that was not about slavery, then, I mean, if you're able to say that was not about slavery, you are a fool, you are naive, and you are trying to tell people things that are simply not true. That's why I hope you missed yesterday's Candace Owens podcast.
Yeah.
Go ahead, James.
Yeah, I mean, fucking duh. I mean, it's like, you know, Candace knows that she's preaching to people that dropped out of high school. She knows she's preaching to people that have no idea how history worked. And they don't even know how to fact check or read a fucking book. They just listen to what shit that she says and that Dennis Prager says and Fox News says, and they go, "Oh, really? That's what really happened? I knew it all along." It's just crazy. She could literally tell them, her audience, anything, and they'll just believe her.
It's like they knew all along what they learned from not studying was true.
Yep. I knew my racist grandfather was right about
it all. Oh, man.
All right, so a couple things here. So right wing does this all the time, and I want to give you guys a heads up about it so you can start seeing it for yourself. They set up straw man arguments. She's like, it's so stupid to say that every white person in the South owned a slave. Whoever said that? I don't know anybody who's ever said every white person in the South owned a slave. You just made that up so you can say that it was stupid. And then what it does is it tricks right wingers into thinking, yeah, you see that? The left wing's wrong about this whole issue. Well, first of all,
all right, anybody ever seen the clip? There's this clip where these two guys are arguing about the Confederacy, and the white guy's yelling about how his grandfather or whatever was too poor to own slaves, but he's yelling at the black guy whose grandparents were slaves.
Oh my god.
But that's exactly the narrative that she's fueling, right? Is so that you can have some ignorant white dude walk up to some black guy. The black guy's gonna get offended when he sees the Confederate flag. The white guy's gonna go on about how he just wants to defend their way of life. And it's awful. Now, there's another story that kind of touches on this that I find really funny. The other day, former speaker and ambitious speaker, Kevin McCarthy, wants to be Speaker of the House, was going on a rant against the omnibus spending bill passed by the Democrats. And whatever. Standard business. The party, the outgoing Congress usually tries to handle, wrap up its business and do a lot of its big packages and shit before they leave, right? And if you're the outgoing party, you definitely handle that shit before you leave and go on holiday break. And everybody leaves early, too bad. This is politics. Why the fuck would you go home early? Go fuck yourselves. Do your job. So anyway, he gets up there, and one of the things that I found hysteric that he ranted about was that these Democrats had the audacity to propose these bills where they put their names on things. So I guess, Senator Warren is putting her name on some sort of, pool or rec center or something like that. And a couple different, senators are getting their names on, packages that they've been, they were, behind or whatever. Some of them being outgoing, right? So their whole thing was like, oh, and so-and-so's putting his name on this, and he's never going to have to come before the people and hold him and be held accountable for, and I'm like, this is standard operating procedure in politics. It is like a common courtesy almost to be like, oh, James, thanks for your fucking 40 years of public service, and you've been a huge advocate of youth activities and recreation, and, we'd love to name a park after you in your home county, while you, on your way out, right? It's an actual common token gesture to recognize years of public service, right?
True.
And regardless of how we feel about it, he's outraged, livid. How dare you put your name on these public works? Right? But it made me think of this, and it was funny because when I first saw it, I think Carrie Ann was in Gather with me at the time I was going off. But these are the same people who are like, now don't you dare take down that Confederate flag. How dare
Confederate
you
statue or Confederate flag.
Robert E. Lee's name off of that fucking high school.
Right.
Now, I don't care if black children go there. This is our legacy. This is our heritage. This is our story. You're destroying our history. It's, oh my goodness. I pulled my headphones out. But no, seriously, they're always so mad. Like, and so it's ridiculous that they don't want us to, correct for the hateful history we have that hurts people, but they're outraged that actual public servants would put their name on totally neutral public works, tale as old as fucking time.
Right.
I don't even know what to say to this shit anymore. Go ahead, James. Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of asshole politicians throughout history that had their name on shit. We ain't complaining about that shit. I mean, whatever. Taft was an asshole. We don't care that his name's on some high schools. It's old news. Nobody even cares about it anymore. Like,
seriously.
That's part of our history now. And it's like, someday if somebody wants to name like a sewage refining plant after Trump, I'm not going to complain.
Trump shithole.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. it'd be the most bigly dump.
Not wrong about anything. She made up
massive dumps. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, that is going to be the time for all the bigly massive dumps.
The biggest ever. Probably nobody has ever taken a shit that big before.
Nobody have ever seen that kind of feces gathered together in one place. Mar-a-Lardo.
Man argument that no one ever says. And secondly, that has nothing to do with the rest of what actually happened.
This is the best Christmas Eve ever.
And so, and even if what she said was true, and by the way, I didn't know, I thought it was a smaller number, to be honest with you. Those numbers that Michael just read us are amazing. 49% of white people in Mississippi owned slaves, or their families did. Wow, that is a much higher percentage than I thought.
And the thought that the other 51% of Mississippians were just somehow opposed to slavery, that's just for those 49. These are people who were fighting for a way of life. It was how they made their money. It was how they kept their prices down. It was how they rented their land. It was how they raised their horses. Everything having to do with agrarian life in Mississippi was based on slavery, and that is why they fought the Civil War. And to
be honest, that's kind of what we see now, where capitalism only works for such a small group of people. But since it's what everyone still aspires to, or what, the narrative is that everybody is still aspiring to, people are still fighting for the capitalist dream as though, that's a thing. But it's the same way in which it's ridiculous to pretend as though just because everybody couldn't, maximize the system, that meant somehow that wasn't what they were essentially fighting for. Just like we hear, literally with COVID, we had to just suck it up and get back out there, and some people are gonna die, but the machine's somebody's gotta feed the machine, right?
Right.
So come on, you think that it was, only a certain percentage owned slaves. All of them fought for the idea of having slaves, and as Jamel Bowie said there, they also fought for the aspirational part of owning slaves.
And even if what Candace said was true, well, does that mean that the war wasn't about slavery? No, it means that poor white people in the South were used as suckers to go and die so that rich white people in the South could own slaves. That doesn't make it any better. It arguably could make it worse. The poor white people were also used as cannon fodder by the rich, which is exactly what Republicans want to do now with poor people. And then Candace Owens loves use the poor as an excuse, use them as cannon fodder. Let's go fight whatever wars we want for the rich. It's the same story over and over again. And guys, look, this is not a Donald Trump thing. This is not a new right-wing media thing. People in the South and Republicans have been saying for 50 years now that the Confederacy and the Civil War wasn't about slavery. It is the most absurd, insane conspiracy theory there is. What was it about then? Peach cobbler? No, of course it was about slavery. That's not even remotely in dispute. Just because they yell it so loudly doesn't make it anywhere near true. It was 100% about slavery. And by the way, the guys who declared civil war against America wrote in the documents, we are declaring war against America because we would like to keep slavery. It's not at all in dispute, okay? So, and by the way, Candace Owens knows that, but she gets paid to attack other black people. Basically. And she gets paid by who? Rich white folks. So that's how this game is played. And finally, Mike, I want to ask you. So look, you're Jewish. Couldn't she make the same argument? Oh, what, these good German soldiers, they didn't do anything wrong. And it was their sons that went and fought in this war for Germanic pride. And now you just want to take away their swastika flag that they were so proud of?
Right. And not everybody hated the Jews in Germany, and they fought that war. Yeah, I mean it's not an exact analog, but it's
all right. So look, we're gonna keep this rolling because what gets lost in all this is the denial of the human experience that's very real in all this, and I hate the fact that this is even a topic of conversation, but I feel perpetually gaslit by these people. I'm so happy that was the 2022 word of the year. It is the word of the year. This is what we're living through. Everywhere we turn, politically, socially, we deal with religion. I mean, it's just all consuming, and you have to literally fight for the cognitive basics. There's no such thing as supernatural. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden's the president. I should get my booster. Like, slavery happened. Okay, that's why we fought the Civil War. Like and then you have to like, I got to call into my shrink and be like, I'm okay, right? Like that's are my feet firmly planted? Am I okay? Do I need more meds, less meds? Do we got to adjust something? Because I feel like I'm in some kind of nightmare where people are not seeing. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. Like, I feel like if I didn't have this community, I would be going nuts. I would be. I don't know. I'd probably be institutionalized because I don't know what would happen to me into this place by myself. At least I have voice that makes me feel like I'm not the only one seeing this.
I would like to add someone to our.
So this going over your throwback. Some of you probably seen this. I hadn't really seen this before today, but this shit's heavy, and then we're gonna get real heavy.
Group here, Professor Paul Weiss, a Sterling Professor of Philosophy at Yale.
Oh yeah, we're close to 666 subs. Please like, please share the videos, please sub if you're not already sub. Appreciate everybody.
Were you able to listen to the show backstage?
I heard a good deal of it, but then I was behind the rostrum here.
Yes.
So I heard only some of it.
Did you hear anything that you disagreed with?
I disagreed with a great deal of it. And, of course, there's a good deal I agree with. But I think he's overlooking one very important matter, I think. Each one of us, I think, is terribly alone. He lives his own individual life. There's all kinds of obstacles in the way of religion or color or size or shape or lack of ability, and the problem is to become a man.
But what I was discussing was not that problem, really. I was discussing the difficulties, the obstacles, the very real danger of death thrown up by the society when a black man attempts to become a man.
All this emphasis upon black man and white does emphasize something which is here, but it emphasizes it or perhaps exaggerates it, and therefore makes us put people together in groups which they ought not to be in. I have more in common with a black scholar than I have with a white man who's against scholarship. And you have more in common with a white author than you have with someone who's against all literature. So why must we always concentrate on color or on religion or this? There are other ways of connecting men.
I'll tell you this. When I left this country in 1940,
This is also not true. Like, and I realize this, I hate to say it, but on the other side of a PhD, nothing about my PhD is the same as my white colleague's PhD. Nothing. And if you don't believe me, watch what happens when I call in the call-in shows versus when anybody else with a PhD calls into a call-in show. See how many times Bart Ehrman has to sit there and listen to a bunch of amateurs talk about New Testament history in front of Bart Ehrman and not get a word in edgewise. People will do that shit to me with biology and evolution. Sit there in front of me and I'm just sitting here like this.
Yeah.
But even within the academy, we're not treated the same. Nothing's the same. That's why they still have to have programs for people like me. Oh yeah, we got to have a program just for the university to like not try to fuck up your career because you're black. And on top of that, we're still gonna fuck it up because you're black. It's just there's a couple of people like looking out for you that's gonna hopefully it won't be as fucked up. Basically, is what you're dealing with, you know. And it's and so nothing's the same. We just have the same job. That's it. We share a job, classmates, right? It's like being the only black kid at all white school. Yeah, we went to the same school. That we didn't have the same life. We didn't go, you know what I'm saying? We didn't go home to the same life. We didn't We didn't have, you know what I'm saying? Yes, we shared that unique thing together and ensure that it is unique for me amongst people or whatever, but that, you know, I think we want to paper over the real differences, right? To say something like, oh, a black author and a white author have more in common. No, just no.
48. I left this country for one reason.
They can both
one
write?
reason. I didn't care where I
Sure.
went. I might have gone to Hong Kong. I might have gone to Timbuktu. I ended up in Paris, on the streets of Paris, with $40 in my pocket on the theory that nothing worse could happen to me there than it already happened to me here. You talk about making it as a writer by yourself. You had to be able then to turn off all the antenna with which you live, because once you turn your back on this society, you may die. You may die. And it's very hard to sit at a typewriter and concentrate on that if you're afraid of the world around you. The years I lived in Paris did one thing for me. They released me from that particular social terror, which was not the paranoia of my own mind, but a real social danger visible in the face of every cop, every boss, everybody. I don't know what most white people in this country feel, but I can only conclude what they feel from the state of their institutions. I don't know if white Christians hate Negroes or not, but I know that we have a Christian church which is white and a Christian church which is black. I know, as Malcolm X once put it, that the most segregated hour in American life is high noon on Sunday. That says a great deal for me about a Christian nation. It means that I can't afford to trust most white Christians and certainly cannot trust the Christian church. I don't know whether the labor unions and their bosses really hate me. That doesn't matter, but I know I'm not in their unions. I don't know if the real estate lobby is anything against black people, but I know the real estate lobbies keep me in the ghetto. I don't know if the Board of Education hates black people, but I know the textbooks they give my children to read and the schools that we have to go to. Now, this is the evidence. You want me to make an act of faith, risking myself, my wife, my woman, my sister, my children.
I'll give you something else. I thought about this during COVID, and this is how much you got to really hate black people to not address educational differences. One of the things that was, when everybody got sent home, one of the things that was crazy was people was talking about, well, it's so different because, you know, shit's inequitable and the poor schools don't have access to technology and they don't have the good teachers and the good books and all this shit, right? All that's true, but here's what's interesting. The problem in a lot of these schools is, real talk, they don't have the books. And if they do, they're like old. But now it's cheaper to provide a tablet than it is for one textbook. Your average new social studies textbook can run you a couple $100. You could give each kid in the class a $50 tablet and put world-class educational software on it for damn near nothing. We just don't want to do it.
On some idealism which you assure me exists in America, which I have never seen.
Check that out on Netflix. All right. So I wanted to, that popped up today, and I threw it on because it was so relevant to, you know, Candace Owens and her nonsense. But this is the thing I really wanted to get into. This is a piece here, The Real History of Slavery. It's a thing that documents slave stories. And the reason I want to touch on this, one is obviously for the racial history and the social issue that we deal with, where people want to deny and trivialize the seriousness of slavery in America. But the other thing is, trust me, I intend to shit all over everybody's Christmas. Because there's no way that at least the spin we get on the Christian Christmas narrative is anything short of the desire to be a slave. I meant what I said at the beginning of the show. I will not call anybody Lord. I will not call anybody master. I will bend the knee to absolutely fucking nobody. And I'm sorry, not so sorry anymore to be the one to break it to people, but we've got to speak to the issue of Christianity and slavery. It is very simple. You cannot tell me you are free if you call somebody Lord and Master. Now, a lot of these people, because of course God isn't real, find the notion of a perfect celestial master somehow less appalling, and therefore the object of their desire and worship and all of this shit. But I'm just not having it because it's not honest. James, you think I'm exaggerating when I say it? Like, to me, it's very, if I got to call you Lord and Master, I'm not free. I mean, that's just, I don't know why we're dancing around that.
100%. And they play games with that. Like, they'll say, well, technically everybody's a slave to something in some way. Nobody's completely free. And I'm like, well, would you rather have 1,000 ropes around every single part of your body so you can't move? Or just a couple of loose bungee cords that let you move around, but you got limits? So it's a degrees thing, right? Like, yeah, the government gets to own our punk asses because we have to buy our way out. That's unfortunate. But why have more slavery than we need to have? Why have less freedom than we're able to have? Why call anybody Lord and Master when it really only means that as an adult, you don't own your own life and don't even want to? That's the problem. The problem isn't that we have certain things that we are a slave to. The problem is we have so many people that don't want to be free, don't believe in freedom, and think that we shouldn't be free either.
Absolutely. When someone says CRT, I'm going to say you mean history. Absolutely. And this desire to be a slave. And so I think these stories are powerful because they allow us to really now look this idea square in the face and stop bullshitting about what slavery means.
All that I know, they teach you to mind your master and your missus.
Been slaves all our lives. My mother was a slave, my sister was a slave, father was a slave.
They treat me nice as they could treat me. And if I want
anything, I told y'all
shit
was going to get heavy.
I'll ask for it. I was taught it that way by my old master.
These are the voices of former slaves, victims of one of America's greatest crimes against humanity. Listening to them speak and hearing their lamentations does a different level of justice than history books ever could. John Henry Folk was a storyteller and radio show host who in 1941 started doing interviews with former slaves in a project to bring awareness to racism. One former slave he interviewed was Fountain Hughes. Little did Folk realize this interview would be one of his most important.
My name is Fountain Hughes. I was born in Charlottesville, Virginia. My grandfather belonged to Thomas Jefferson. My grandfather was 115 years old when he died. And now I am 101 years old.
Although many slaves were kidnapped or abducted, Hughes was different. He was born of slaves, as was his father. He didn't know any other life.
It's what they call, we were slaves, we belonged to people. They sell us like they sell horses and cows and hogs and all like that, have an auction bench, and they put you up on the bench and bid on you, the same as you're bidding on cattle, you know.
The auction bench was an infamous place among slaves. Here, people would learn not only who their future masters would be, but exactly what price a person could put on another person.
Sell the women, sell the men, all that. And then if they had any bad ones, they'd sell them to the nigger traders, what they call the nigger traders, and they'd ship them down south and sell them down south.
After leaving the auction, they would be at the win.
I hate to say it, this is so well done, but some of these images deserve a little bit more attention. $1,200 for a $1,250, $1,200 to $1,250 for Negroes. All right, this is crazy. Look at this is like a cat. This is like a chicken coop, right?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, this is just unbelievable. I'm a musician. I love sound. I'm trying to get more into, photography and video. I'm terrible with the camera. I'm trying to learn. But some pictures, man, the history that they tell, it's like, man, that image is like a Picasso painting in some sense to me. Like, it's like an invaluable impression, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Children. Children. Wait, there was another one.
Down south. To sell them down south.
After leaving the auction, they would be at the whims of their new masters. Of course, when someone is considered to be a piece of property rather than a person, little is done to make them comfortable. Deplorable living conditions, tattered and worn-out clothes, and sometimes a bare minimum of food were all that slaves were given.
Colored people didn't have no beds when they were slaves. You all slept on the floor. Pallet here, pallet there. Just like a lot of...
Oh my goodness, look at these homes. And I could take you to parts of South Jersey that look like modern versions of the same scene, like near where my dad grew up, where you realize people haven't gotten too far beyond this. We've cleaned it up just enough so that it looks modern, right? It's the modern version. But I mean, I've seen it. It's just, that's what it reminds me of. It's crazy. But this is just a different level, man. This is crazy. And they were probably like, wow. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, you'll compare this to some of the other scenes in this. That's a lot of structure. Wow. Right?
Yeah.
To have to sit there and look at that and say, that's a lot compared to what others had. That's wild.
Right.
That is wild.
Wild people, we didn't know nothing. Didn't like to look at no book.
Often, the slaves were only dressed in what they showed up in, made mostly of rag and cloth. The lucky ones may have had a pair of shoes or some denim.
So I never wore no shoes until I was 12 or 13 years old. And now people put on shoes on babies, you know, when they're a month old. I don't know. Put shoes on babies, just as soon as you see them out in the street, they got shoes on.
Not much attention was given to the slaves' diet. More times than not, they would only have things like soups.
Yeah, our babies now have shoes way before they walking.
Yeah.
They got shoes. They get home, they get some little shoes. It's kind of funny if you think about it. What that little baby gonna do with them shoes?
Right. Size 0 Adidas.
Or stews made from the scraps of the master's dinner.
Wooden tray, dug out, you know, all about that long. And all of them, you know, would get around that tray with spoons and just eat. It like mush or soup or something like that. And all them children get around there and just eat.
Slaves had no weekends, no holidays, no days off. Each day was filled with nothing but work and meeting the needs of the masters.
Night never comes out. You have nothing to do. Time to cut tobacco. If they want you to cut all night long out in the field, you cut. And if they want you to hang all night long, you hang tobacco. It didn't matter about your being tired, you're afraid to say you're tired.
It wasn't a sense of duty that compelled the slaves, nor was it a love for their owners. A cloud of dread hovered over them, as the smallest infraction could mean a painful punishment, usually in the form of beatings. Former slave Laura Smalley described what she saw one day when another slave woman earned a whipping after her master's mistress tried to slap her and she fought back, pushing her into a chair.
But I think that poor old woman carried in the peach orchard and whipped her. And, you know, just tied her hand this way, you know, around the peach orchard tree. I remember that just as well, looked like to me, I can, and round the tree and whipped her. And well, she couldn't do nothing but just kick her feet, you know, just kick her feet.
I'll put it up right
but
after this.
It just had her clothes all down to her waist, you know. Just didn't have her plumb naked, but they had her clothes down to her waist. And every now and then they'd whip her, you know, and then snuff the pipe out on her, you know. She'd snuff pipe out on her. You know, the embers in the pipe. Where you ever see the pipe smoking?
Blow them out on her?
Mm-hmm.
Good Lord.
Even though slavery was a practice in which evil was free to roam, there were still some owners who aspired to be better, treating the slaves with more dignity and decorum. Having a master who would speak with kindness, show courtesy, and treat them as humans was among the most coveted things any slave could ask for.
They treat me nice as they could treat me. And they all treat me nice. All the white folks that know me, they treat me nice. And if I want anything, I'll ask for it. I was taught it that way by my old master. Don't steal, don't lie. And if you want anything, ask for it. Be honest.
And this is a fucked up ass system too, because, and this is something they'll kind of touch on here. This is the best they could hope for. And for a lot of them, you'll realize this was a better fate than freedom. And it's so fucked up to have this system where people are property, and then to be like, and then James, think about James. If you knew me, like the most humane thing you could do for me, James, was buy me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? For real though, James, you really want to do a nigga favor? Like, bro, buy me. For real, you know. And it's like how I felt with Sam. Like you know, it's like you don't take this dog home, you know what's gonna happen to him, right? So,
right.
So it's crazy.
And what you get. That's what I was raised up with.
Even though the masters would preach honesty, they were still not very trusting. Simply going out, even on the orders of the master, required a number of steps.
Now I couldn't go from here across the street, or I couldn't go to nobody's house without I have a note or something from my master. And if I had that pass, that was what I call a pass. If I had that pass, I could go wherever he sent me. And I'd have to be back. You know, whoever he sent me to, they'd give me.
Now, the good thing about being the only black kid in the all-white school was that it was a Catholic school. So everybody had to have a pass to be in the hall. Very strict about that shit. It's terrible, y'all. I can't oh, my goodness.
Another pass. And I'd bring that back. So
they sound like soldiers, like when soldiers be a doc and they gotta have some shit to be off base, right? Or risk being AWOL and shit. Except they'll whip your ass and then send you back to get your ass whipped. This is just
show how long I've been gone.
With the passage of the Emancipation Proclamation, the slaves were free, but only by degree. They weren't truly as free as they thought. Union soldiers, who slaves once thought of as liberators, would sometimes pass through and not give a second thought to the people they helped to free.
I remember when the Yankees come along and took all the good horses and took sold all the meat and flour and sugar and stuff out in the river and let it go down the river. And they know the people wouldn't have nothing to live on, but they done that. And if you was cooking anything, eating that for yourself, and if they was hungry, they'd go and eat it all up. They wouldn't get nothing. They'd just come in and drink up all the milk and just do as you please.
Slavers across the South were incredibly hesitant to change after the order, not only because they were losing the labor they paid for, they were losing an entire heritage. Not taking too well to the new proclamation by President Lincoln, the slavers actively withheld the life-changing information from their slaves, sometimes to the point that slaves would end up working on the plantations for up to 6 more months.
You know, and old master didn't tell you, it was free.
He didn't tell you that?
No, he didn't tell. They wait till, I think now they said they wait till 6 months out of that. 6 months.
Without guidance, though, many of the slaves found their newfound freedom less glamorous than they had thought. With not $1 to their names, very few possessions, and little to no education, they found themselves alone. Sadly, millions of newly released slaves, unable to make a living, ended up becoming emaciated, even dying as a result of starvation.
And after we got free, we didn't know nothing to do. And my mother, she hunted places and bound us out for $1 a month. And we didn't have no property, we didn't have no home. We had nowhere, nothing. We didn't have nothing on it, just like the cattle, we just turned out and get along the best you could. Colored people is free, you ought to be awful thankful. And some of them are sorry they are free now. Some of them now would rather be slaves.
Although freedom had been granted, they realized that it came with a heavy price tag. Even though slavery meant hard work and beatings, it also meant having food and shelter.
Mom and them didn't know where to go. You see, after freedom broke, just like you turn something out, they didn't know where to go. That's just where they stayed. Didn't know where to go. Turn us out just like, you turn out cattle. I say, didn't know where to go.
The slave's freedom was met with mixed emotions. Fountain Hughes was asked about how he felt about his freedom and whether or not he would rather have been a slave again. His answer was haunting.
You know what I'd rather do? If I thought, had any idea, that I'd ever be a slave again, I'd take a gun and just end it all right away. Because you're nothing but a dog.
This period was one of the darkest times in the history of the United States, but even though slavery was eventually abolished in the States, it is quite a different case worldwide. From forced labor to human zoos, or areas of the world where visitors would travel simply to gawk at the local indigenous people. Whatever its form, though, the voices of the slaves matter, bringing to light the sad truth that slavery is not dead today.
Yeah, there's actually, more slaves in the world now than ever. So it's kind of a problem that's just, at least in this country, moved underground in different ways. It's not chattel. We're not buying and selling slaves on a trade block anymore, and that allows us to think it's not happening. It also reminds me of the mass incarceration we have in our situation. And that was one of the most heartbreaking lessons I learned in Newark. That was the first place I ever talked to people who I knew had long rap sheets but weren't criminals. They deliberately committed petty crimes right around this time of year, unfortunately, so they could find themselves somewhere with 3 square meals and a bed.
Yeah.
Because, that was better than street life, right? And some people just become accustomed to that, so you're out on the streets as long as you can cut it. Shit gets too cold, can't find work or anything. What you got to do to get off the streets.
Yeah.
So it's an ugly reality to look in the face. I typically try to do our offering song before we go into the main program, but I'm not going to just because of the subject matter. And I always thought it'd be cooler if churches showed a little flexibility once in a while. God damn it. But I do want to touch on the fact that this is what people are getting at when they try to have this conversation about anything, be it what was the Civil War really about? Racist gaslighting. Why are people so offended by the N-word? Racist gaslighting. There's so much of this that we see now. Oh, the Trump insurrection, that was Antifa. Racist gaslighting. Like I said, come on, seriously?
Right.
Like that's seriously what it's like now. And now, again, a white cop knelt on a black man's neck, no goddamn reason, for damn near 9 minutes, and they're trying to tell us the problem is that there are sociology books about critical race theory.
Right. It's just crazy.
And you have to want to dehumanize those people. You have to want to overlook their history. I'm sorry, I don't. And if you're that uninformed now, again, if you grown, you could get it, right? Once not even really. I'll fucking kid all the way up. Look, kid, you sitting on some bullshit. You need to change your ways now while you still got a chance. But the older you get, right, and it's a sliding scale, 18, you got to really deal with consequences. 25, you too old for this shit. 30 plus, I'm not hearing it. If you're that ignorant at this point, it's because you want to be that ignorant. And, we got to just deal with that, what it is, because you can't sit around making excuses for the education people don't have when they ain't trying to learn nothing. And you ain't trying to teach them nothing. It's the stalemate of ignorance. So the other thing is, I'm not having it with these religions no more. Because they're all about lords and masters, dominion, the special kingdom for the chosen few. The rest of us can get grace and mercy. If we're true, if we're pure at heart. Like, fuck out of here, man.
Right?
Like, you have to take that shit somewhere else, man. Like, and they still over the you know, somebody was in here to chat the other day. We're gonna expand our kingdom down to Egypt and up towards the Mediterranean. And I'm sitting here like, you don't think you're gonna get some support for that dumbass shit around here, do you? Like,
right?
I'm anti everybody's imperialistic claim to anything. And the fucked up shit is, again, it's Christmas Day 2022, and you got to sit up here and act like we're not in the middle of a war between Russia and Ukraine that has been going on for over 300 days. The entire planet thinks asshole number one is the motherfucker who thinks those other people's land should be his land. He is giving Satan a run for his money as far as most hated names this holiday season. And what are religious motherfuckers still talking about? Oh, I can't wait till my sweet God comes back and gives me all of this shit here. Yeah, we have to take all of that. You know, and like, again, y'all are taking it out of context. You're tone deaf. You're not paying attention to the world right now. None of us want that. And it's disgusting to even talk like that with something like this going on. But there's no bottom if you got some sort of supernatural excuse to suck that badly as a human being. And so I really think, for me at least, this is going to be something I'm going to start talking about. And, you know, I got to be honest with you, you know, there's going to be different people in our community doing different things, but I might not be the person that a lot of believers want to talk to. Because, you know, if I were them, I wouldn't. Because there's just a lot easier hills to climb, I feel. There's a lot of people who really want to meet them and you know, have all of those nuanced conversations. And at this point, I just see people who want to make excuses to not grow and essentially be bad people. Caught up in the grift and the privilege. And it's a perfect subject because it's Christmas time. And like I said, tomorrow we're gonna do a holiday party. The link in Gather is the link where we'll be the rest of the night, all day tomorrow and throughout tomorrow's stream all the way until Monday. We're at our new Saturday night set right now, but that's only because I wanted to do it for the Saturday night show. But we'll be back over there. The link is pinned in the live chat. It's also in the description. And yeah, I'm really excited. I've had a ton of fun. And it's so great to actually feel like I'm spending the holidays with the gang and with my friends. And we had a great time last night. I drank a little too much, but I survived. Sure. We treated it. I didn't get a hangover, so I woke up, played some cards, and ate Chinese food all day.
Awesome.
But all of this desire to be a slave and us not standing for it and us trying to end the year of perpetual gaslighting is, let's tie it all up in a bow and talk about where does this really all go? We all know where this is going. We are here to talk about your trash ass, super religious, uber conservative, totally in denial about reality, about the way the world works and who you truly are, that you are suffering through this holiday season. I know you are here to get relief from your toxic ass relatives. Yes, your family is trash. Your family is trash, and your family is trash, and my family is trash, except for OG Roddy. What up, cuz? I'll see you tomorrow. But no, seriously, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to let the queen take over. Today's featured piece comes to us from Kat. It's her recent podcast. Check out A Black Cat's Voice on YouTube. And
hey, love the new set, Jay. Before you go.
Oh, thanks, Joel. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, on drums, baby. Oh man, I love it. Oh man, this is so much.
I gotta
fun,
get back
man.
there.
This is great. But yeah, thanks James, Lena, Wayne, Joel, Carrie Ann, Dave, YouTube Punk, AR. Appreciate all you guys being in here. Y'all see Myronbot holding it down, allowing us to project both screens. All right, so I'm gonna kick it over to Kat. I'll be right back, and this is about your unhealthy, toxic ass family.
So today I just wanted to make this episode to talk about a lot of the toxic patterns I've noticed growing up around and in Black families. I'm not saying these issues only apply to so-called Black people, because I know a lot of these issues can reach anybody and can be experienced in any family, but I've only grew up around Black people, really, so I'm just going to tell you about the so-called Black experience because that's what I know best. Usually there's always different kinds of people in the family, whether it's someone who's on drugs. Usually there's someone in the family who's on drugs. They go on and off drugs at different times. They may go missing from time to time. You kind of got to watch your stuff around them because they usually steal. They tend to have addictive personalities, and it's usually just kind of a humongous elephant in the room at all times that this person is on drugs. And it's unfortunate how common it is. Crack really hit our community hard, and a lot of us, even in later generations, are still recovering from the crack epidemic in our communities. It was just really, really terrible. You can research it for yourself. But also there's a lot of toxic masculinity in Black families. The boys will get babied by their mom. I remember living in a household where I had to make my brother's plate before I ate when I was in foster care, and I just thought that was ridiculous because why am I putting him before myself? You know, I understand feeding the man of the house, quote unquote, if it was like maybe my father or my husband, but my brother, like that's weird. And then it's like the boys will get, you know, encouragement to be sexual. It's, you know, they can get condoms bought for them, and you know they can joke and laugh about hooking up and sex and everything, and it's no big deal. But let a girl at a young enough age even wear hoop earrings, and now she's being fast. let her skirt be shorter than what's appropriate. Now she's fast. Now she doing too much. She being a hoe. Like, it's just, it takes very little to be torn down as a woman for being so-called fast in a household where a boy is encouraged to do exactly what you're not even doing. You know, it's like they're encouraging him to have sex and be sexual, and you have to basically act like a nun because you're a girl. There's also usually a family member who's gay, or someone who's, they say, is going through some type of phase. And it's like so many people just feel the need to talk about it in the family. It's like family members always make fun of people for being gay, or they judge them, or they're like disgusted by them. And I just never really understood why it's like that, because who cares? As long as they're not hurting anybody, why do you care who someone is attracted to? Like, or how someone chooses to dress, or how someone chooses to express themselves. Like, but in so many families, it's such a big deal. It's such a big deal. If you want to really see how your family feels about you, tell them that you gay, and you gonna really see how they feel about you. And just, there's usually favorite kids in families, you know. People won't necessarily say all the time that, you know, so-and-so is their favorite kid, but you can just kind of tell by how they're treated, how the punishments go. It's like certain kids can really get away with murder, while other children, every single thing they do is wrong, you know?
She's so amazing. But there's a couple things I wanted to touch on just before I forget. So, and I haven't listened to this. I just knew it was going to be the perfect topic because I'm trying to ruin Christmas, baby. I'm on the roll. So, I once read one of my mother's reflections about growing up, and she started talking about, and one of the prompts she had to respond to, was she was asked to respond to, I shouldn't say she had to, she chose to, was, you know, like how she learned about sex. And I don't mean this to cast judgment on her, because I think it was fine. It just speaks to the way she was raised and what her values were at the time. But I remember she talked about that. She talked about how when the other girls, like when they started noticing liking boys or whatever, how, you know, the other girls were fast or whatever. Like she talked about the fast girls, right? And she only wanted to get to know the cute ones or whatever. And I realized now that there was sort of this judgment, right, of what it meant to be a blossoming female. And I think it's sad that she has that perspective, because I think she doesn't see herself as a quote-unquote judgmental person. And this is the problem with people build up these identities around themselves and don't ever examine them for the consistency with how they see themselves.
Right.
But now I also look at it as sort of her tragically being robbed of a normal sexual development, which then was perpetuated in the you know, my struggle to find my own, you know, get comfortable with myself and everything. So it becomes generational, absolutely, also. And, you know, I also have a gay cousin who, you know, growing up, the fact that, you know, she was a lesbian, I think was very an issue for the family, right? And especially because she's like you know, non traditional female like presentations, like a butch or you know, different times. And so growing up, she like, even now she hoops. Like she was a crazy good basketball player, and like raps and does like spoken word, very talented, very creative. And those of us that knew her, like, we loved that about her. We had somebody different in the family. Finally, we had, you know, somebody interesting was up in this bitch. But no, we all love Monisha. Like, we're all so close to her because she's wonderful. She's a wonderful person, and she's she has every bit the same fierce, loyalty and passion for family that the real ones amongst us have, right? But it was always so sad that he was never celebrated, right? And a lot of times when it really got, as you mature and get to the ages where you're having partners and all that type of stuff, there's a lot of distance there. And these are the very real cost of, like, we're treating our own family members like dog shit because a book said a thing. Thousands of years later, James.
Yeah.
I think you talk about the great awakening of... Yeah, but see, my thing is, I'm not that patient, bro. I think it's happening. I think it's an irreversible trend, but it's just gonna die the slowest death of all slow deaths. And so I'm just trying to do everything I can to just accelerate it. I'm trying to be like, no, now. No, actually now. Because I'm like, does anybody think does anybody really hold out optimism? And I'm not talking to trolls. Everybody's not a troll. Does anybody really hold out optimism for the other side? Do you hold outside for the hope for the conservative movement? Do you think they're going to steer the ship and get it right all of a sudden? No. Do you think like 100 years from now we're going to look back and be like, oh fuck, you know what? We should have given theism a second thought. We should have slowed down on that whole new atheist thing, and we should have realized, yeah, it was a revival. A revival was a stirring, and wouldn't you know that revival turned up scientific and philosophical evidence of the Lord himself in the biblical. Like, there's no. So the only thing to do is just now. When's the best time to get rid of a tumor? Yesterday. Yesterday was, right?
Yeah.
So, like, it's. I'm not with you, man. We gotta step on this gas, y'all. Now's the time to leave religion and all other sorts of toxic shit, and of course the drugs, man. That's a source of pain, man. Anybody, all of our families know about this. Like she said, this is the Black experience. She knows, but all of our families probably know these same issues. I'll just say this, man. Look at the Derek Lambert channel. You know, Derek, the Mythvision podcast link is in the description, but look at the Derek Lambert channel on YouTube. Derek's recovery channel is amazing. And so I say that to say, check out Derek's amazing story. But if you know anybody going through this, please share that channel with them, because it's a channel actually dedicated to recovering. I know it's not an answer. It's just I feel obligated to suggest something I know of, and I know at least people that get plugged into that channel at least get plugged into Derek, and Derek actively, as in right now today, will help anybody that he is aware of that needs help that's going through that. So if you know anybody that needs that type of help, let's try to get them any help you can get them. Appreciate everybody. Let's go.
And it's disgusting that parents, and not just parents, but aunties, uncles, grandparents, all those people will really have favorite kids or favorite nieces, or, you know, how did my parents have...
Hey, Kat, happy holidays. Thank you so much for coming through. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for this all your content. These stories are incredible. You know, it's like the same tip we're about. We're kind of like, we try to be painfully authentic around here, and it's nice to find other voices. Like, sometimes I'll be listening to Cats and stuff, and I'll be like, it hurt her to make this podcast. It really did. So I appreciate you sharing, Kat.
All these children, and you pick and choose which ones you support. You pick and choose which ones you call, which ones you check on, which ones you go see. And then some of them you just act like they don't exist. Like, I don't understand how you do that. I only have one nephew in the world.
Shout out from Gavin.
And it doesn't matter how many children my siblings have. I will love each and every one of their children just because they're my niece or nephew. Like, I don't understand how people really pick favorite kids and just pick which child to support and to love. Like, any child is gonna be better off without more love. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I don't understand how, as children, especially as Black children, we never get to be depressed. We never get to have anxiety. I remember suffering from all these things and never even getting to talk to my family about it because they would make fun of me, or they would call me crazy, or it would just be the topic of every phone conversation. Oh, well, yeah, she says she depressed. Yes, depressed. Can you believe it? Like, how do you ridicule people for how they feel, especially when half the time these toxic parents are the one who cause their child to feel depressed or anxious or stressed. And then they act like you have nothing to be stressed or depressed or anxious about. It's sad. A lot of the relationships, especially with parents or mother figures, father figures, can be so toxic. I don't know if you guys watched the singer August Alsina's YouTube documentary where he talks about how parents can be so disrespectful to their children. Like, they can disrespect you to the highest extent and you can never say anything. They can go as far to put their hands on you, to talk about you to the whole family, to make fun of you, to belittle you. And I can't so much as say, I don't like your shoes, or, oh, I didn't like, that meatloaf you made last night wasn't that good. I can never
And let me give y'all the words for this Christmas season, y'all. I'm sorry, but I don't believe your God is real. Just try it. Just try it out. Look, here's what you do. If shit goes real downhill, just say, I have a friend named Jay. He just asked us to try it out. He said we should try it out and see how it goes. I just need to give him some feedback. So y'all can blame me. Go ahead. Your family don't gotta like me. I don't care.
Express any form of anything but being happy and being grateful.
Anyway.
Because it's made into something else when parents, so-called parents and different family members will make you feel bad for stuff that they were supposed to do. Like, how are you telling me, oh, you gave me a place to stay, or, oh, you put clothes on my back, you fed me. Hey, did you or did you not sign up to have a child?
I feel you, Joel.
Because if you did, that's what you're supposed to do.
That's real talk. It's hard, baby.
That's like me going around saying, yeah, I feed my turtle. I clean his tank. I make sure he's straight. And
sorry, my atheist pastor told me the truth with a capital T. I love that.
Expecting everybody to clap for me because I take care of my turtle. Did I not buy him to take care of him?
But I gotta live with the guilt. I feel that.
Did you not have a child to take care of it? Because that's what you sign up for when you have a child. How do you make someone feel like they owe you something for some shit you chose to do? We didn't choose to be here as children. So how do these toxic parents act like we owe them something just for existing? Like, it's just...
The hard thing to remember in all this, at least for me, and I'm sure Kat would probably feel the same way, is that we're trying to speak to a issue that's far bigger than our personal stories. We need to share our personal stories, but at the same time, we're trying to say this is something that's going on in our families. And it becomes difficult to remember how generational it is. They're this way because this is how they were taught to be. Somebody taught them it was good to make sure to, if you know what I'm saying, somebody may have told her to make her brother's meal for her, right? Or, my grandmother, like a lot of the way she is with my grandfather, it's like that's where my mom got it from, right? And I know they got it from their uber Pentecostal parents, you know, because they were like the unholy union of, you know, a couple like where both their families were on that uber Pentecostal tip. So you get it on both sides. And I'm not saying that to make the excuses. I'm saying that to point out the bigger picture, to keep the bigger message in mind, which is this has to stop. Right? At some point, we have to say enough generations have gone through this stuff. We have to address the structural inequalities. We have to address the LGBT issues. We have to address the misogyny or misogynoir, I think they're calling it now, the intersection of race and sexism, particularly with the treatment of black women, like suppressing female sexuality. All of these things, man, they're not talking points. This is the division I think I'm seeing in our community. Y'all know me. I've been critical of a lot of the way we respond to certain things, and I don't think it's always the case because I think everybody has a different opinion and a different tact. But what I want to be clear about is a distinction I'm starting to see where I think for some people, a lot of these issues we talk about, they're just conversations. And don't get me wrong, we all think these conversations are interesting. We all do this at some level for entertainment. But for a lot of us, we feel like the subject matters we're talking about deeply affect us or people we care about, and it's not a game to us. That passion is because, you know, we kind of bleed on these things a little bit. And I think to a lot of other people, these are like conversational fucking games. And there's even people who are on quote unquote my side of issues, like atheists or liberals or whatever, who I don't even fuck with anymore. Because the way they talk about this shit now, or the way they treat people on the other side, it makes me feel like, oh, you don't really see what's really going on here. Like you think this is just, oh, let's all get in a little club. Oh, I'll be my color, you be yours. We'll sip some tea together. Oh, you think my people don't deserve to exist, huh? Do you? Well, I think that's just metaphysically quite silly. But but really, have you thought about that, Epista? Like, no, you tell me I don't deserve to exist and see what's gonna happen to you. You're going to learn quickly who to play with and who not to play with him, this motherfucker. I will come right through the screen on your ass.
Truth.
You know what I'm talking about? Like, and I'm getting sick of that in this community. Like, yeah, we can have a conversation, but this ain't just a fucking conversation. So if you on that tip, you understand we're trying to have a conversation because we're trying to put this shit to an end. We're not trying to have a conversation so we could be refining the conversation so that 5-10 years from now we can sit here talking about the same goddamn issues. Now, a lot of us feel like we inevitably will be, but that's the problem. That doesn't make any sense. And it's the same thing where I've been really feeling this lately, like science isn't the answer anymore. I hope I don't get, I hope they don't affect my tenure prospects for saying this, but at some point you realize science has already answered all these things. It's already given us overwhelming data to support the liberation of people as if we should have needed it to begin with. At some point, we just have to muster up the courage to demand and be willing to do what it takes to affect change. Because it really ain't no more to study at this point. We could keep studying it, but at some point, what are we gonna do about all this, y'all? And I do feel like making the content, building the community, spreading the word, helping people deconvert, pulling people out that we can reach and all of that is an incredibly important part of it. But to me, that's even I think my advisor said it's like activism, basically. He said it's like, it's like you're doing, it's like you make entertainment, but you're doing activism.
Yeah.
And which is different than I'm just trying to make a career out of waxing about it.
Right.
Because one is it's just disingenuous. You gotta at least like bear the weight of what's really at stake here. When we're just talking about a football game, fine, we're just talking about a football game. But this is not. And that's what I appreciate about Cat, right? Is there is a lot of pain in those stories. And just like the slave stories we saw earlier, people have to take those snapshots for other people who don't have that lived experience to at least get a perspective on it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go.
It's really a lot that goes on in the Black community, and unfortunately, people always try to say, oh, what goes on in this house stays in this house. Or blood is thicker than water. Just all these stupid ass expressions to try and sit here and act like things that are not okay are okay. Toxic is toxic. Abuse is abuse. Whether it is verbal, whether it is physical, whether it is mental. Abuse is abuse. And just because you are someone's family does not give you a right to cause them harm. And they don't have to forgive you. They don't have to keep going around you. They don't have to take it just because you're so-called family. And I just hate that in the Black community, I see so much of this, so much toxicity, and it's just swept under the rug. Like, we really need to lay everything on the table, because that's the only way that we're gonna heal. That's the only way we're gonna heal, is we have to air out everything that is bothering us and have open and honest conversations so we can really love each other from the inside out. How can I know how to stop hurting you if I don't know that I'm hurting you, or if I continue to ignore the fact that I keep hurting you? I'm big on apologies, but I'm even bigger on changed behavior. And our families and our communities cannot heal until we talk about these things, and until we are willing to change those family traditions that should have never existed. We got to break these generational curses and really love each other from the inside out.
Generational curses, absolutely.
And it just starts with each one of us.
Wow. The funny thing is, just like, sin is not a real generational curse, but the way we respond to that bullshit has been.
Yeah.
Absolutely has been. It's really crazy. Go ahead.
I'm just only catching part of the chat just now, so
yeah, go for it. We're good. We got through all the content, so we're good to go.
So I might have missed something, but I'm scrolling back up and I see where Kata said that they are thinking about cutting off their mom because of how toxic they are. If I understood that correctly. So I don't know if Kata wants to talk about that here or not. Like, I don't know, but.
Yeah. Well, I know you guys have been, hearing my journey on these things, and one thing I was thinking is sometimes space is great for both sides, because you don't want to become the toxic thing in your family too, right? And sometimes when emotions are raw, it can be, I don't know, necessary for certain people, right? To kind of take some space, spend some time apart, and then if you want to have the conversation later on, you can try to. Another thing that I've really realized is we're not responsible for other people's shortcomings. I think there is this generational message that's put on people. You have to take care of your elders. You have to take care of your relatives. They brought you into this world. You wouldn't be here without them. You're always going to need your family. Your family isn't always going to be around. They're not always going to be, you're going to wish, all of that stuff, which, by the way, they're all threats.
So,
go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that is. There, about my social solar system analogy anyways, right? Some planetary bodies, you get too close to their orbit and you're going to burn up.
Right.
You get too far, it gets icy cold. But the truth is there are some people that are just so inherently, deeply, permanently toxic and abusive that there is no orbit that you can have with them. Now, I'm never going to tell somebody who when I don't know the circumstance enough. I'm never going to say somebody, you should cut this person off. But I'm also never going to tell them they shouldn't, because it's a decision that they have to make for themselves.
Right.
But I had to with my mom, and my sister had to as well. And she has recently spoken to this. She's like, ever since she cut our mom out of her life and her kids' life, she has made monumental improvements in her mental health, in her like clarity of thought and her sense of ownership over her journey, and things are just healthier and happier for her all the way around. And if she would have kept our mom in her life, she wouldn't have been able to go through this healing and go through this improvement. What we want is to be able to heal with the people that have been awful in our lives. But what quite often happens is we can't heal with them in our life, and it's very unfortunate. So, I'm not telling any specific person in our community, if your parent or your sibling or your whoever is one of those people that you have to cut them off, but that is a thing. And just if that's what you decide to do, I know you'll have my full support.
Yeah.
Because it's your journey and you would know best.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. And some people, that's on them too. Like they're not a person right now that you can grow with in the moment, right? And then the other thing is, I do think some people need to feel that sting first, right? Because that, in a way, it's a test. Life tests you. I have been in relationships where, time away from my partners really made me miss them. I've been in other relationships, time away from my partner made me realize I need to get rid of that person. I'm really dreading when they come home. I should think about that. And then other times, you have a falling out with a person and you realize you let a good thing go, right? Sometimes you can repair that relationship and sometimes you can't. But there are a lot of times, I hate to say this, where, some people might talk about the divorce versus marriage mentality. I know Tuxedo kind of talked about that, but recently people have been talking like that about like Elon Musk, the way he is with Twitter. They're saying it's like a very divorce energy. But anyway, sometimes people don't want to maintain the relationship or don't realize that they failed to nurture the relationship until the other person is really upset or, cuts them off or creates that space. It's almost like the normal indicators that there should have been, they didn't take those opportunities. And I could give you a lot of people. It's just something as simple as when you didn't show enthusiasm for a lot of this religion stuff, or you didn't a lot of times they failed to learn about you and grow about you.
Right.
That's the kind of thing I was saying about like my own family. It's like sucks. Like, we have a fun week and OG Roddy drops some new music and they can't listen to it. And, I had a couple of big podcasts this week, can't talk about it. Because what's the first question gonna be? Well, what's the show? What podcast? Oh, how much your religion's sitting on some bullshit. So that's just what it is, right? And by that same token, a lot of us, that's probably what brought us to this community. So I'm with you, James. I support people, whatever they feel they need to do. But I often know that responsible, empathetic people are often that way to a fault. and then they take on too much responsibility for other people's shortcomings.
Right.
Yeah, not healthy. So I've kind of gotten through everything. This was really great. I love this new set. Like I said, we are all gonna head back to the Christmas holiday gathering. The link is in the description. It's also the link pinned in the live chat. We were only here for the Saturday night live show, and we'll be back. Parasocial Love Child. Holy shit, that's a great band name. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. But come link up with us. The reason we're going back over there is you don't need a password. Everybody can join us there. We're gonna watch a couple YouTube clips, and then I'm sure we're gonna do 12 Angry Men version 2, and then whatever movies we get into. But yeah, we'll have movies overnight. And yeah, I kind of wanted tonight to be heavy. I'm kind of doing the evangelical Christmas playbook in reverse. I said they should go real soft on Christmas Eve and then hit you with the crucifixion gore fest on Christmas morning. To keep, because they gotta get your money and get you coming back for the rest of. They gotta make they play for the rest of the year, right? So, you know that holiday high is gonna wear off. They gotta make sure they got some guilt in there to bring your ass back. But
right,
like you're supposed to learn how to. I really should go to church more. You know, that's what they want you to do.
Right.
But yeah, we did it in reverse. I thought, look, let's just attack Christmas. Talk about I'm not going to be a slave. I'm not going to listen to these patriot theatards tell me, that just want to stonewall everything. So I wanted to burn it all down on Christmas Eve. Really peak the bah-humbug energy. And then tomorrow we're just going to have some fun, ugly holiday sweater party. Come decked out if you'd like, or watch decked out from home. We'll have a fun holiday stream, kick it, probably just make fun of some fuck faces. Try to have a good time. We'll link up with the gang. We'll do some gaming, and then we'll be and gather. That way we can, do some more movies and stuff like that. So. Hope everybody is actually seriously having a happy holidays. I'm not going to end with the altar call because we did a bunch of serious stuff, and I want to, keep it on a reflectful note. But this was a super fun stream.
This makes sense.
Yeah, we got to switch it up. Give everybody something serious to think about as they lay their head down Christmas Eve, really reflect on them. Tonight was about the meaning of Christmas, right? It sucks. Right, it's all fucked up, right? It's all about you should be a slave.
Yeah.
The person you should be a slave to died for you, and now you should sing songs to him. Now that sucks. All right, but we'll set that aside. Tomorrow we'll get up and link up with the gang, have some fun. But shit is backwards. Oh man, treason is the reason for the season. That's gonna be the new one. But yeah, appreciate all y'all. Come link up with us. We'll switch back over to the holiday meeting room. Appreciate everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow. In the name of the Darwin, the Dawkins, and the Christopher Hitchens, science bless y'all. Happy holidays. We'll see you tomorrow.
Why she wanna leave me alone? Saying all I do is wrong. No rights when they been left turns. Playing that she gotta let it burn. Saying that the house not a home. Sunshine cause she heard it all before. Sometimes she don't wanna be alone. Most times she don't want me gone. She don't know I try my all. She don't know I sprung in the sun, but I'm going in the winter, so we good to the fall. Remember how I told you I get it and I win. Now I'm got it, you ain't answer my call. Wonder if I've been moving too strong. Maybe I just been moving too balls. Really hate when the feeling get lost. Nowadays she just dodge my calls. And the game throwing laws like Paul. Young legend Miss John like person you call. It's time to roll. She tryna slide. We smoking Zah. Stop acting shy. Cause you a demon when I get between your thighs, girl. You like my rib, you know I need you by my side, girl. It's time to roll. She tryna ride. We smoking. Stop acting shy. Cause you a demon when I get between your thighs, girl. You like my rib, you know I need you by my side, girl.
Be smoking that side. I'm tryna get high. She said that she not ready for love, stop wasting my time. I got demons in my closet, I can't hide. I did all my exes wrong, they wish I died. Damn, I tried. They won't believe me.